1, 2. 1, 2. Checking. Yes, 1, 2, 2. Yes, 1, 2. Yeah, 1, 2. 2. Yes, 1, 2. Sibilance. Yes, 1, 2. 2. Yes. Yes, 1, 2. Yeah, 1, 2. 2. Yes, 1, 2. Sanbonani, siyanimukela, siyan.
Mabhida Stadium right here in KwaZulu-Natal, hosting a very, very important, significant event indeed, Bongiwe.
And umemezilo kandaba blame sasabela ke thina ke safika ke ngqo siwumsakazo womphakathi, and we are here of course to bring you this majestic event, this historic event. Sibona Mabutho, of course, later on that we are waiting for. I mean, we always, you know, I always laugh when Mabutho are on camera, because that's when everybody stops concentrating and we just focus on them, and people even forget that they are on air. You think about it in Ntombi, and it takes me back to Mkhosi Womhlanga Plain, where we saw Ntombi, and I was with Dr. Vilakazi on air at some point. She almost cried when she witnessed that moment, as really for her it was such a symbolic moment in history, and ucabanga ke namhlanje as to how that is all going to unfold before our eyes. And I'm sure even for our guest that we're introducing at this point, Ubaba Nhlakanipho Zulu, you know, who's a cultural expert, a veteran journalist, you know, someone who's a member of the royal household. I wonder, Baba, the visitor for you, how does it feel like today? Because 14, Nanje, we already feel the magnitude of what is happening.
It's a sacred event. Umthandazo kubantu ukuthi ubuhle babo babone ngomfanekiso wabanye abantu. Uma ubona intombi ubona ikusasa, the future of the nation, and that gives you that. Umubona amabutho, it's very important in the history of the Zulu nation and other. Ukuthi, it's not only that we're talking about the Zulu nation, but we're talking about a form of government. And the arms of government would have your army, would have your administration. So the amabutho are a vital cog for the existence of the nation, because they safeguard the king, they safeguard the nation.
Yeah.
And if there is a crisis, like you would call the army, and amabutho would volunteer their services or their service to actually come and assist in that regard. So it's a beauty of the nation. It's like when you are in the army and you see an army parade. So it's at another level, but it is most important because it brings together the nation. It gives hope. It gives the purpose of living, that as a nation we are safe.
For those who might not understand the process and mechanism of how one gets into the regiments or amabutho, just describe for us what it takes to become a member of that.
There is a certain age whereby, according to ages, you are chosen to represent a regiment that the king would say, I need to actually have a new regiment. And I think even at this point in time, surely in a few months, the King MisuZulu would have to actually come with a regiment. He may have as many as he would want to. Like when you go to the army, you would have the 1-to-1 battalion, you would have this and that. It all varies with the age. So that's how important it is. If he doesn't do that, his reign would be in vain. So he needs to actually have a regiment. It may not necessarily be one or two. For instance, when King Goodwill ascended the throne, the first regiment he picked was Inala. And I was young at that point. I could not qualify as Inala, but the next regiments he actually picked. One would actually qualify. And it's a very interesting process because it tests your strength, it tests your resilience, because you have got to hold this bull, kill the bull with bare hands, which therefore means you're actually strong enough to defend the nation. So it's quite symbolic and very, very, very important. And I think the young king ascending the throne today would encourage young people, because it goes with a lot of advice how you should behave as part of the regiment. It may even go to an extent of even dealing with the whole social problems that are engulfing the nation, rape, violence and domestic violence and so forth, because it says to you, now that you belong here, you must be exemplary and you must lead. So it entails quite a lot of values.
Ngiyake ngizwe kuthiwa abantu akumele babone umhlane wesilo, so that's where the protective aspect comes from, I suppose.
It is very, very important, because as he moves, the regiment or the regiments are behind him. So you see him from the front, and at the back you see his regiments. I would remember a biblical story that Moses wanted to see God, because he had served him from the time he emancipated the Israelites in Egypt. But scripture tells us that God said, no, Moses, you can't see me, but you can just see me passing by my back. And I think this whole thing has got a meaning to it.
You know, let's just talk about the king today. Far from me to understand what goes on in the mind of a king. But I wonder where his mind is today. The passing of Isilo Samabandla Onke was met with a lot of sorrow, a lot of grief. Then in quick succession, he lost his mum, Queen Manpombi Dlamini Zulu. So on one hand, he's dealing with loss, but on the other, he's ascending to the throne. How does he reconcile with that?
I think he went through a difficult period, losing a father, losing a mother. But above all, that saw division amongst his own royal household. And that's where in the love of the nation manifests itself, because immediately there are people who took him and protected him and carried him, and who actually said, no, we know he is the future king. Now, one little story that I want to tell you. The king in 1972, after his coronation or installation, he visited Swaziland, and the king of Swaziland at the time was King Sopuza, both king and head of state. So because the king was busy with other national affairs, so he entrusted his son to actually take care of the king. Now, we are told that as they were taking rounds, he saw Queen Matombi, and his eyes were glued to him magnetically. And then the brother was sort of uncomfortable with this, but at a certain phase he asked him, are you interested in my sister? And then the king said yes, but there was a demand. He actually told him about that. Umdanenkosi cannot just be the ordinary wife. He should assume the status of a great wife. Now that's where the whole issue of King MisuZulu come into play in terms of succession, because the Umdanenkosi was actually going to bear a king, because there was a directive. And I must tell you that that brought some uncomfortability within the royal nation. So there was sort of resentment of the late queen. But because the king was adamant that he wanted, he said, doesn't matter. And today, because of that demand, that King Sopuza's daughter could not just be an ordinary person, she is a great wife. And that's the root of MisuZulu becoming king today.
And I suppose when you look at also the story unfolding, it's also the fact that she then comes in, she then is very instrumental in the preservation of culture and also ensuring that eminye imkosi is also, you know, celebrated and a lot of events are marked. It also talks about the role that she then assumed to understand the critical part she needed to play in the Zulu nation.
In fact, she comes from a country, a kingdom, where cultural heritage is significant. Swazis, amaSwati, they are known for the preservation of culture, from Umkosi Wenwala, from Umkosi, and so forth and so forth. Now, when she comes in, the king begins to establish his identity, as we were saying, the king, incoming king, must establish his own identity. And the king's identity was reviving cultural heritage of the Zulu nation.
Okay, stand by. We've got lots to talk about. We live from Mabhida Stadium. The certificate handover, presidential certificate handover to King MisuZulu KaZwelithini. Coming up, we told that the formal program will start at around 10 o'clock or so, but the build-up, important, context, important, perspective, important. Let's get you some perspective. Let's bring in Jade Poulter now. She's live for us in the stadium. Jade, what are you witnessing?
Coming to you live from Blue Lagoon, where the maidens are congregating ahead of the trek at 9 o'clock promptly to Mabhida Stadium. As you can see, the stadium is just behind us, and this is the fount where they will be congregating. Now, I do hear amaBhutho on my far left-hand side, and they are also there. And as you would know, where the amaBhutho go, that's where the maidens are, and that's where the king is. Now, we're expecting the king to make his way to the stadium a little bit later, but we have Ayanda Mhlongo watching those developments there. This particular group behind me is from Verulam. We're going to find out from them how they're feeling right now. It is a historic moment. Thank you so much for joining us. You're live on SABC News. Tell us, where are you from?
I'm from Pargates at Verulam.
How are you feeling today?
I'm very excited and I'm happy. Yeah. And I don't know. I'm excited. I have that thing.
And tell me, what time did you arrive here? I was listening to some of the stories, and most of the girls arrived early hours of the morning.
We came here by 6:30. Thank you.
Well, enjoy it. Have a great time. Let's move on to this lady over here. You're looking absolutely beautiful. Tell us, how are you feeling right now? It is a historic day, and just speaking to some of the maidens from the different branches across KwaZulu-Natal and in eThekwini, many are saying that they are feeling all kinds of emotions. They're overwhelmed.
I'm excited. I'm also overjoyed and overwhelmed, and I'm really excited too.
And this is a historical day, so tell us, what is going to be one of the memories that you are going to hold on for the rest of your life? I imagine you will tell your children one day that you were at the forefront of this ceremony.
I'll be very happy, and I will really be overjoyed to tell them that I was a virgin and I was here in
Tell us, how important is it for you to still be pure and to keep your virginity? What does it mean for you? In a world where things are changing so fast and vastly, most girls are no longer virgins. Most are no longer preserving this part of their culture. What does it mean for you to still be pure?
I want to make my mother happy, and she's the only thing I have. So I want to make her proud of me. Yeah, that's why. That's the main reason I want to stay virgin. Yeah, I want to make my mother proud.
Well, I'll let you join your branch as they continue singing and move on to one of the maiden minders here. Thank you so much for speaking to us on SABC News. Just listening to her talk about her culture and the important part of it, holding on to being pure. Just as a maiden minder, how difficult is it for these young girls to hold on to it, especially in schools where bullying is rife because you want to hold on to your virginity?
It's very hard. It's very hard, especially for us. We get bullied in the community, whereby they're telling us to go to these girls are no longer virgins. We are just pretending as if they are virgins. It's very hard for us, but we are trying to make something good out of them and to keep them busy from running on the road with boys and all.
Now, for those watching back at home, many are saying that it's an archaic way of looking at things, that young girls holding on to their virginity, even well into their 20s, 30s, and even later in life. But talk to us about the cultural practice and the importance of doing so.
As a Zulu girl, this is how we grow up. When we were growing up, we were raised like this, to be a virgin. You are pure. Even if you get married, your husband will be proud because he is married a virgin. All those things. We are very proud of our girls, and we are happy. We have some of the parents here. This is very exciting. Thank you.
Thank you very much for talking to us. Well, there you have one of the maiden minders talking to us. They are from the Verulam branch, and there's branches from all over KwaZulu-Natal and in eThekwini. I saw saw and I've spoken to some people on the ground that are saying there are 100 minibuses. If Nomple can just pan to her right-hand side and show you that there are 100 minibuses as well as 120 buses that have arrived here at Blue Lagoon, and I still see them trickling in, like I said to you earlier, on amaBhutho on the far left-hand side, and they are congregating that side. And where amaBhutho are, that's where the maidens are. They move in unison, they move in sync, and there are different branches from all across KwaZulu-Natal that will be converging at this particular felt at Blue Lagoon, and they'll be making their way to Moses Mabhida Stadium, which is not too far from where I am now. It is pretty much a 3-minute walk to the stadium, and we are expecting that to happen at 9 o'clock promptly. The weather is absolutely beautiful, slightly windy here, but that has not deterred the thousands that have come out. Electrifying atmosphere that's currently taking place here on the ground as the singing continues. I'm going to walk out a shot and let you play out with that Nat sound.
The sights and sounds of the handover ceremony scheduled to take place at around 10 o'clock. The formal program kicks off. Jade Poulter live for us there just outside the stadium. Beautiful, beautiful scenes indeed. We're expecting at around 48,000 people to attend. It's a first come, first served. Gates opened at 7 o'clock this morning, Bongi.
And I tell you what, Blaine, I'm sure a number of people who are watching from home are saying, "Niyadela nini senilapho and sidela ngempela ngekhululeka kumnandi kabi ke la sikhona kodwa asiyintolo so masibuye sikhulume futhi even more about omama ngoba omama nabo they play quite a critical role. I know we sometimes forget them and we sometimes even forget to even look at the role that they're playing and indima abayidlalayo when it comes to, you know, some of the support given to these maidens.
Yeah.
What are the conversations that are happening with them, because these are the future of the amaZulu nation, and we'll come back with that in just a moment.
I'm hearing what you
SABC News, hello.
If you want to know what's going on around the world, there's only one place to be.
Investors are going to be looking out for various key metrics which credit rating agencies find interesting as well.
Do you want permanent solutions for your long-lasting health problems? Are you struggling to access healthcare? Well, if that's the case, make sure that you catch Vital Signs with me, Dr. Mosam Tombeni,
every Sunday morning between 5 and 6 a.m. on SABC News.
1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 mic 2 1 2 1 2 1 2
in KwaZulu-Natal. Police Minister Bheki Cele is confident that there will be adequate security at the Moses Mabhida Stadium to handle the large crowd expected for today's coronation. Cele Coronation of King MisuZulu KaZwelithini, the 9th amaZulu monarch, is not only a recognition of the traditional leadership of the amaZulu nation, but is also a celebration of culture and customs. A very important aspect of such an event will be the attention given to traditional dress. SABC reporters Jade Polzer and Fanele Mhlongo went shopping for some of the finest traditional outfits on offer.
It's no secret that King MisuZulu has a flair for fashion. He's just as comfortable in his formal designer suits as he is in his traditional dress. He's often seen in animal skin chest coverings or imbata, and also dons a rare apron or ibeshu. As the custodian of amaZulu culture, language and tradition, the king is seen to lead by example. Animal hide traders in Durban say they have been hard at work, as customers have already placed their orders for the coronation.
I'm calling on people who will be attending the coronation to dress up accordingly. Men and women should wear their appropriate attire. Sometimes people wear traditional wear that is not meant for their gender. An animal skin that is worn on the head is for men only, not women. A woman can only wear that umqhele if she is a sangoma. The traditional attire have some terms and conditions.
Beads are important accessories in most outfits and have a symbolic and significant meaning for amaZulu women and maidens. Married women are expected to wear a black skirt of animal skin called isidwaba and hats known as isicholo. Virgins are expected to wear white beads, while women who are not married wear colorful beaded outfits.
Some customers do not know which beads and attire are suitable for them, so we guide them. Some women come asking for a skin that is worn by men on the head, and we advise them appropriately. There are other beads that are only worn by married women on the forehead, and it covers the eyes.
Guests and spectators will play witness not only to a great historical event, but can also marvel at the cultural, fashionable ensembles.
Yes. Coronation fever's in the air. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
I'm ready. Are you ready? For SABC News,
I'm Fanele Mhlongo.
I'm Jade Polzer, Durban.
The Democratic Alliance says it's taking the eThekwini municipality to court for failing to fix the city's failing water infrastructure, which has led to sewage pollution of rivers and beaches. DA leader John Steenhuisen said on a site visit to a water She's got the Police Minister, Mabhida, with her. Sakina, a very good morning to you.
And welcome back to the other side of Moses Mabhida Stadium. And as you can see behind me, people are starting to stream in, and it is a colorful, festive occasion. A cacophony of voices as people stream into the stadium singing and dancing, and it's an absolute beauty to behold. But of course, there are security concerns as always, and we try to mitigate against those as best we can. And joining me now is Police Minister General Mabhida to talk more about the security measures in place as the crowds start to come in. Minister, good morning.
Good morning, Sakina. Good morning to listenership of the SABC.
Now, we are expecting a capacity crowd of 48,000 people, which at an event like this is a very serious concern because we want people to be happy. We don't want any incidents that are basically going to spoil this occasion.
Well, for a week we have been camping here, led by Minister Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma as the interministerial committee of the ministers on this one. But ourselves as the South African police, we have been doing our job. We're very comfortable. Moving around, you could see yourself that things are not easy as you would be, but at the same time we need to balance it with the comfort of the day. Day must be luxurious, people must be joy, but must be safe. Hence, wherever you move here, you can't move in the... That includes myself. I've been stopped several times and then need some approval to get in some other points. That tells you the level of the security.
And you're absolutely right. We experienced that coming in. Even in the very early morning hours already, you could see that security was tight. Now, Minister, you know, you speak about enjoying the festivities, but of course also there are some concerns, and you've put measures in place because if we look behind us, for example, and these are not necessarily the sort of spears that we talk about, but there are objects that people would traditionally have as part of their gear and ensemble. But we understand some of that won't be allowed in here this morning.
Well, these things have been discussed, Sakina, as this is a once-off day, really once-off day. I was not there in 1971 when it happened, and it will be really magic that it happens again while some of us were around here. So you can just work around those things, not to spoil the day, but as I'm saying, not to cross the security line. These things were discussed. We have spoken to Izinduna and the leadership of amaButho that there can be some relaxation of things, but not, as I'm saying, not compromising the details of the security. Indeed, things like spears and all that kind of thing, there are things that are declared as would be dangerous weapons, but at the same time, they put a full regalia of the day today. So we have tried to work on that and balance those things. We believe that every precaution has been taken.
And then we, of course, have several dignitaries locally and from other countries, neighboring and further afield. The sort of security measures in place around them, and is it likely to have any sort of impact on what is going on here?
Well, we have the King MisuZulu KaZwelithini. We have some former presidents of I think it's Botswana. We've got our former president, three of them. We've got kings from other places. All those have been taken care of. We are saying to people, enjoy festivities and be safe and be jolly. As I've said to you, that we'll spend a week here. We are really convinced that we are fine here, not just here. You know that there are other places, there are other things that have been said. I've been checking with Sentin this morning. People are fine, are moving around in Sentin. The Deputy Minister of State Security is walking around there. We're fine. I've checked with Cape Town. I've checked with people that will be running the derby this afternoon. We're all fine. Things are set. Let's just go, let's walk.
And of course, as people start to stream in, it's first come, first serve. So I understand there is also a measure around counting the 48,000 people who will be allowed in, and thereafter the turnstiles, as I understand, will stop turning. Just walk us through that precaution.
Well, I started at the VOC. VOC is a venue operating center, which is up there. That time, I watched the turnstiles turning. It was only 20 when I was there, and it turned to 23 when I was there. And this stadium, Sakina, we are not very lucky like me. We are not just looking around the stadium, we are looking the streets of this city. We saw everybody walking. As I came in the VOC, they told me that they've been following me on the street and all. So everything, when the time comes, those things will, it's not just estimated figures. We deal with exact figures that will stop, and will begin to ask people to push them to the overflow, which is both parks, the nearest parks and the other park where the most police are. So all those things are in place, all those things are exact, and all those things are precise.
And just usually with huge events, there's always a lot of protocol observed and a strict observance when we are coming in. But when we leave, things seem to just be left to unravel. Are there any plans in order to just ensure that everybody leaves and reaches their destination or their vehicle safely?
To start with, we wanted to finish early. We hope we'll be able to start on time or near on time, because by 1:30, we want everything finished. The latest is 2. Even the entertainment after that, those that will be singing, Puze Kemi, Sabos Java and all that, we're giving them a very little time, because we want to see people dispersing on time. So that helps. Even those people that miss their transport and all that, you can still work on it. We are people at place that will be working on that. There is a planned way of people living. So especially the buses, we'll be calling, there are people that will be calling the long distance buses, because we want those to leave first. By 5, by 4, we want this place to be clear.
Minister Bheki, thanks so much for stopping by. And as you can see behind me, it is really starting to fill up, and just people beautifully dressed coming out in great colors and attire. And I saw some Swati maidens coming through earlier as well. It is absolutely beautiful. It is festive, it is colorful, and we will bring it all to you live and direct here on SABC News. With that, let's take a quick break.
Yeah, the Asante or Ghana. Asante is Ghana. Yeah.
Guest. We
Can
got
we
time.
engage our guest? So what do we do now? Siyakhuluma? Yeah.
Bon.
Welcome back. You're still watching the official broadcast of the handing over of the recognition certificate to His Majesty King MisuZulu KaZwelithini. We expect the president to speak at around 11:30, at around 11:30 to about 12:10. That's some of the program that's happening today. He will do the handing over of the recognition certificate, if all goes according to plan, at around 12:10. And then we expect the speech by His Majesty at around 1:15, around to about 1:10. As you heard from Minister Bheki, he expects everything to be done around 1:30. All right, quick ad break. We're back after this. Stay with us.
Nation, but to the world, to South Africa, and really some have said that, you know, while others may view the king as more ceremonial, but there's quite a lot of influence that he wields. There's a lot of work that is done, and I'm sure that's what we'll talk about as well.
Apart from the maidens, amaButho, or regiments, will play a major part in this ceremony. It dates back to the 1800s, in fact. Let's find out more.
amaButho, regarded as the protectors of the amaZulu kingdom, pledge allegiance and swear loyalty to the incumbent monarch. Their existence dates back to the 1800s, when King Shaka Zulu, founder of the Zulu nation, conquered and united clans to form one empire. amaButho were instrumental in King Shaka's military strategies and combat tactics that vanquished his enemies. They were also central in defeating the British Army at the Battle of Isandlwana in 1879 during the Anglo-Zulu War. And they still have that same role today to protect the king and his kingdom.
amaButho are the life and blood of the Zulu nation. They act as soldiers of the kingdom, and they play an important role in safeguarding the well-being of the kingdom.
Inkosi nenkosi inebutho leli butho lelakile lenkosi amabutho embubo ngokubhekelelwa amakhosi.
Every chief has amaButho, but their allegiance is blessed to the king. amaButho also serve as the army of the kingdom. They also play a significant part in the Battle of Isandlwana. Zulu people then didn't have the defense force, but had amaButho who filled that gap.
Some amaButho are expected to be in a highly excited mood on the day of the coronation, but their leaders say they are up to the task to control them.
amaButho sometimes act as if they are possessed by certain spirits, and that makes it a bit challenging to get them to behave. But they are taught to respect fellow human beings and to behave themselves. As commanders, we are able to control them, although they use herbal charms, which makes our jobs difficult. I must say that they are a difficult breed to control. Having them around is like trying to catch a crocodile by its tail, which means you don't have a full grasp of it.
The commanders of amaButho say the upcoming event is for the most part a solemn ceremony, and they say the event will be characterized by the singing of amahubo or praise songs. These are prayers as opposed to war chants. Members of amaButho say they are taught high moral values and
Thank you very much, Bongi. We are here and outside the Moses Mabhida. I would remember that ukuthi esifundazweni saKwaZulu Natal namhlanje ilanga liphumile as everyone is out to come and see the provincial basically function of this magnificent day of the coronation of Isilo Samabandla Misuzulu KaZwelithini. But as we will just speak to the people that are selling the traditional attire outside here in Moses Mabhida, because they're trying to make sure that if you did not get time to buy anything from home, but before you enter the stadium, you'll be able to get some beadwork, you'll be able to get some basically imqhele and all the other basically the attire of the Zulu. Thank you very much, my sister. Ngicela ngiphi igama lakho nesibongo nokuthi uqhamuka kuphi.
Ukhuluma noZiyanda Zondi, thina siyinela kahle sila eThekwini. Imsebenzi esiwenzayo simele abantu different group abasuka kwema rural areas, so siyaba empowerisha ngama skills ukuthi bakwazi ukufunda ubuhlali, and then kodwa kunye sikwenza kakhulu ukuthi sitargeta kakhulu labo bantu abangasebenzi, especially youth nabesifazane. So imisebenzi olana wabantu abahlukileyo because kakhulu siyaba marketer ukuthi bakwazi ukuyengena endaweni bakwazi ukuziqhakambisa kwindawo esikuzona, and kuma province wonke esingene kubona like KZN siyile nako Eastern Cape nase Gauteng sikhona ukuthi abantu ukuthi bakwazi ukuziphilisa. Kakhulu sitargete laba bantu abaphila ngemali yeqolo because ngabona abantu sibona ukuthi babe nenkinga ukuthi bangakwazi ukuziphilisa, kodwa ngesi skill esibanikeza sona, these are the things abakwazi ukuzenza and okunye futhi esikwenza kakhulu besides lokho ukuthi siya modernize manje ukuthi nolusha likwazi ukugqoka lezi zinto. As you can see la sisebenzisa manje umshini okuthiwa i-loom beading machine ukuthi bakwazi yenza ngokusheshsha, senza nama wash phayana as you can see. So okunye futhi esikwenzayo ukuthi nabantu ukuthi bakwazi ukuzenzela izinto, and then kunye esikwenzayo kakhulu siyakwazi ukufikelela nasebantwini sibazele ngokunkwethu kuba ungakwazi ukuthi babafikelele, at least uma ngaba group of 10 siyakwazi ukufikelela kubona. Okunye futhi siyakwazi futhi ukuyibayela ezindaweni zabo sikuze kuzokwazi ukusiza iskill. Otherwise konke lokho sikwenzayo asiko kwethu, kodwa ngabantu esivele sesisebenze nabo kakhulu siqhakambisa lo msebenzi ukuthi si-empowerisha abantu. Siyabonga.
Mhlambe nje bukhuluma ngokuthi empowerisha abantu, niba empowerisha kanjani nokuthi ikuphi kufanele bakwenza ukuze bakwazi ukusondela eduze kwenu?
Okay, you just have ukuthi ufike wena ngokwakho lapho kwenye thina sikufikelele kwenye nibe li group. Otherwise siyakufikela kakhulu sitargeta abantu abasemakhaya. Mani ngabo ngogroup nje o group of 10 siyakwazi ukunifikela lapho sinikeza ama clinic kwenza i-beading, which is lapho sifika sisiphethe izinto zethu which is i-beading machine ukuthi ukwazi ukusebenzisa nama beads, sifikele nezikere everything. So meaning wena mawufikile nje sifuna nje isiqu sakho, and mase kushiya lapho senza sure ukuthi siyakucoacha sikumentorishe ukuze uzokwazi ukuhamba nama market ukwazi ukudayisa umsebenzi wakho. So asikushiye nje ungezi lutho futhi siba nema groups futhi ukuthi sicollect lo msebenzi simlandelanise umuntu simlandelele akwazi ukwenza i-mentorship ukuthi simguide up until akwazi ukusimela. And as a result even namanje abantu abaningi abala sesivele sesiba empowerishile manje sebesebenza nathi kodwa abanye bazimele, and iloko sikufuna ukwenza not ukuthi abantu bathenga ukuthi kuphela kodwa ukuthi bakwazi ukuzimela ngonokwabo.
Mhlambe lolu suku lwanamhlanje lusho ukuthini kunina njengabadayisi?
Sijabule kakhulu kumasipala kakhulu ukuthi asinikezele lithuba kuba nathi kulapho kumake kwakhona izinto ezikanje, so nathi siyakwazi ukuqhakambisa lokho esikwenzayo especially abantu basemakhaya ngoba abantu bafikile la nathi bafike ba free. So meaning siyakwazi manje kunikezwa ispace ukuthi nathi sikwazi ukuveza umsebenzi esiwenzayo. So because abantu abaningi balapha basuke endaweni ehlukileyo, so meaning bayakwazi ukubanye noba abathenganga kodwa bayahamba besazi ukuthi kunesikole la kukhona inela kahle ekwazi ukuletha abantu abanikeza abantu ama skills. So it's not about ukuthi dayisa kuphela kodwa nokuthi nje sikwazi ukubona abantu abahlukeneyo, so abahlukile kwindawo ezisuka kude, so baba nomsebenzi wethu esiwenzayo omuhle. So siyabonga kakhulu ngale opportunity esitholileyo.
Siyabonga kakhulu my sister.
Siyabonga.
Bongiwe, just in short, she's just telling us that they also mentoring the people from the rural areas and they are focusing in KwaZulu Natal, Eastern Cape as well as Gauteng. Once those people they are mentored, they also get the opportunity to be able to sell, and they also be basically get their goods to be sold everywhere. But they also mentioning that they just trying to modernize the beadwork or the craft that they have so that everyone can have an interest, because you'd see here there are shoes, there are also some wristwatch where you can, that's something that you can enjoy and buy. But I'll also try to speak to someone. Sabona masacela ukukhuluma nawe nje kafushane. Mhlambe nje ngomsebenzi wakho ukuba lana kusho ukuthini kwena?
Kuba la ngijabule kakhulu ngoba sengithola ithuba lokuthi ngizokwazi ukudayisa, ngithola imali, ngibe right.
Mhlawumbe usuku lwanamhlanje lusho ukuthini kwena nokuthi mhlawumbe lolu suku lwanamhlanje siyazi ukuthi iminyaka ibisihambile mhlawumbe i51 isilo ebekade sikhona esidala, mhlawumbe ngabe wawungakanani ngaleso sikhathi nokuthi njengamanje kusho ukuthini kwena ukuba la?
Angazi nganginganani ngaleso sikhathi kodwa ukuba la ngijabule kakhulu silo sethe sisha esithandayo.
Imuphi umlayezo nawo esilweni mhlawumbe?
Ukuthi sime njalo siyasithanda siwuZulu.
Also, this one, Bongiwe is also telling us that he's very happy to be here because he was not part of the coronation of the late King KaZwelithini KaZwelithini, but today is happy to be here to basically to showcase and display his work so that the people of KwaZulu-Natal can see and also buy some of his work. Back to you, Bongiwe, in studio.
All right, Bungan, siyabonga kakhulu. Thank you so much for that. And you listen to people saying, isilo masime njalo, siyasithanda. And Blaine, it also speaks about, culture, and which is also going to be an important role that he needs to play as its custodian.
Yeah. And what better way to showcase the culture, the rich tapestry of culture and tradition is the attire. Just a little inside story. I went shopping with Mr. Khadebe when I landed on Tuesday, so you can thank him for the
He did a very good job.
Got a good eye for fashion, that man.
He did a very good job. I'm going to give him 5 stars.
Oh, good.
And I'll buy him ice cream.
Oh, yeah.
Just for doing this fantastic work. He did such a beautiful job. And we're still not alone, Blaine.
Yeah.
We still have Mabhida who's with us. A cultural expert, of course, former journalist, but a member of the royal family. When we talk about, Isilo, there's a number of people that talk about how he's charting a way forward, the next chapter for the amaZulu nation. And as you spoke about it earlier on, talking about how he needs to assume his identity, which also we now are going to know him as. But one of the things that's important is also the preservation of culture as its custodian.
Indeed, as matter stands, the king is a unifier. And the king is a custodian of culture, a repository of culture. And that is most important because he is actually building a nation. We want to see him coming forward and reclaiming his place and say, this is who I am, this is what I stand for. But obviously, he must cut across the continent, the globe. The Zulus have got to maintain their identity because the history is so important. I was just reading through some of the developments that are taking place. When you go to Wits today, the university, there is a Zulu cultural group that is actually coming up and giving this identity. If you go to the local university here, University of KwaZulu-Natal, MisuZulu has become a part of the curriculum that they've got to do with. So what could there be without the king acknowledging this and being the embodiment of culture?
Yeah. Well, Kevin, you spoke about the king as a unifier, notwithstanding the South Africa, the continent at large. But what about back home in the royal household? How does he iron out the perceived animus within the family in order to build from there?
I think when you look at what has actually happened, he is bigger than all this. So what he needs really, charity begins at home. So he must actually bring together all the warring factions and say, look, you can't change the subject of the formula now. I am the king, but as your king, your son, your brother, so it is important that we showcase unity in the nation. And I think he will overcome all this because time is the best healer. But the difficult part is that, you see, these differences were being managed by families. Now you have got the courts in the process, and which supersedes some of the decisions that have been taken by families. And right now there is one regent who has actually been asked in the north to actually step aside because of the courts. But the good thing is that the court is not, all the courts are not the final arbiters. The final arbiter is the constitutional court, where a different court will usher a different decision that would actually supersede the decision done earlier. And I think this will cool off. It will come down because it's brothers against brothers.
And Ndabazitha, you know, one thinks about the fact that you talk about the courts, because a lot of people say that now we are shocked because it's unfolding before our eyes, you know, because now there's television cameras and all of that. But others then argue to say that the courts may not necessarily be the best place to see some of these disputes, but as you say, it is also an important role to ensure that monarchs understand that they also exist in a democratic South Africa.
In fact, what you are saying is correct, because at the end of the day, they are not a stand-alone. They are part of the greater vision. You are forced and bound to respect it as to what it says. But the good thing is that it gives you a chance to challenge things beyond, and then you finally meet your demands, your happiness at the end of the day. But at the end of the day, I so wish that both government, the people, try and resolve this thing. Because in the case of MisuZulu, I told the story that the children born by this princess, there was a condition attached to it. So we're following that. And lastly, the nation are true bearers of this, because they said we accept the condition. As a result, I remember I was still young, but an adult at that time. Even at home, we had to offer a beast to constitute the number of the beast or cattle required for the lobol. So as the nation, we want to see what has happened to our investment. And our investment is this King MisuZulu.
Yeah, you're still young at heart though. Not a grey hair in sight, you know.
I was about to say that he talks about how he was a young adult, and I'm looking at him thinking, where is the grey hair? No, Baba, I'm sure the viewers have seen on screen. We saw the arrival, of course, of Cocta Minister Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, but at the same time, we just saw visuals of, oh, Mama, you know, really one wishes that I could just jump in right now and
the Zulu culture, the values and practices of the Zulu culture. I hold it dear as a child of KwaZulu-Natal. But do you think the youth in this day and age are tapping into that wealth of knowledge that the veterans, that the elders are holding in order to take us to a better place?
I think there is no other time when we speak more about Renaissance, which actually pushes people to begin to have a rethink about themselves. And as a result of which, you find now a lot of young people wanting to know, and this stadium, I can bet my last dollar, is going to be filled by the youth who we have seen showcasing their youthfulness.
All right, and let's pause there for a second. And Blaine, our colleague Samgele Masego is standing by with the COCTA Minister, Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma. Now, Samgele, we saw her arriving earlier on, and one could tell that she's trying to make sure that everything is going according to plan.
Yes, indeed, Bongiwe. Knowing Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, she wants her work right down to the T to be as planned and for nothing to go wrong. We are going to bring her in just to speak on the significance of the event today and also the preparations for the handing over of the certificate, essentially the coronation of King MisuZulu KaZwelithini. Minister, the preparations for this event, how have they been? And culmination to what we are seeing here today, this preservation, this showing of the rich Zulu heritage.
Thank you very much. We are very happy today. We are celebrating and we are proud of being South Africans, of being Zulu. Our diverse nation and diverse cultures built the beautiful tapestry of our country. And we are very happy that the weather is holding up. Yesterday it was raining, but today it's nice and sunny, and we are just waiting for the actual arrival of the king and the handing over of the certificate. This is a historic event. The last time the Zulu king had this occasion was more than 50 years ago. So many people in this country has never seen it. So it's very historic, and future generations will remember this and will be handed over from generation to generation. We are very happy.
Minister, when you look at the rich heritage of the Zulu nation, some of the issues bedeviling the nation as well and the communities, you speak to amaKhosi a lot through your portfolio. What are some of the issues that you may want the king to touch on when he addresses his subjects here today?
I'm not going to decide what the king must say. The king must say what he wants to say. But obviously, we are looking forward to hearing him, and we are looking forward to him addressing the nation about what he wants to do, what he wants to add value to the rich history of the Zulu nation, but also how he wants to deal with developmental issues in the nation. So I can't decide for him, but we look forward to what he's going to say.
Thank you very much, Minister Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma. The minister is not alone. She is with some of her colleagues. I am seeing Mr. Mzi Khumalo, who is the MEC of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs within the province of KwaZulu-Natal. Minister, MEC, the issue of traditional leadership. You are the MEC of COCTA in Gauteng. We are dealing a lot with traditional leaders within that province. Just the essence of the hostel dwellers out in Gauteng who are watching on to this specific event. We are out of time, but just make it short.
Okay. The first thing is that we are working very closely with the Indonas in Gauteng. In fact, we even supported them to come to the site of the town, those that we are working with. But broadly with the issues of traditional leadership, you will know Gauteng, complex as it is. So there are many people who have come to us and said we are traditional leaders. And thus far we have 2 traditional tribes that we are recognizing that are based in Tshwane, but there are many in front of us. So what we did is We've established a commission, which commission will be in operation very soon. We want this commission to go through all the applications we have and people who have presented themselves before us, so that we can make a determination as to exactly in the context of Gauteng who is a traditional leader, who is not a traditional leader.
Thank you very much, MEC Mzee from the province of Gauteng. The stadium is filling up now. The subjects of King MisuZulu KaZwelithini are trickling into the stadium. Of course, we are not alone. My colleague Ayanda Mhlongo is also on the ground tracking the developments of the coronation and handing over of the certificate to King MisuZulu KaZwelithini.
Thanks very much there to you, Samgelo. Of course, we can see and hear that the excitement is certainly building up at the Moses Mabhida Stadium, where, of course, thousands of people are making their way to the stadium. But we are a couple of kilometers away from the stadium at an undisclosed location. Where we are is where the man of the moment, King MisuZulu KaZwelithini, has spent the day or has been here for the past 2 days, and at this location is where the king is preparing to make his way to the Moses Mabhida Stadium. So we're just going to take our viewers just very briefly around what we see here at this location. Of course, the king is inside. They are close members of the royal family, but of course a heavy police presence as well at the location where we are. And I'm not alone. I am with our SABC political editor Mzwandile Mbeche. Let me bring him now while our colleague Tulani Ngobo just takes us through as we walk up the ramp. This is the location where King MisuZulu at this moment, Mzwandile, is preparing to make his way to Moses Mabhida Stadium. We know that prior to him arriving in Durban, he was in isolation where certain rituals were being performed, preparing him in accordance to Zulu customs and Zulu culture, preparing him to come through to the stadium. I can only imagine what is going through his mind at this moment. Of course, he has officially been recognized in Mzwandile. We know him today is all just a formality, but he is here with us. What do you think is going through his mind at this moment?
Well, if you listened to what he said, for example, when he entered the crawl, the sense of gratitude that he has had from the people. He has issues with his own royal family, but the kind of support that he's receiving from the people who also matter as well. Remember, you are not only the king because of your family, you are a king because of the nation. Yes, the royal family is important, is the core, but if you don't have the support of those people you are going to preside over, so it becomes difficult. And I think as he looks at the final hours before receiving that official certificate of recognition, he probably can't help himself. I mean, we heard yesterday that he was very emotional when Bishop Makgoba was giving that prayer. He was basically saying, I actually can't believe this day has happened. But here it is, and as is per tradition, he has to be secluded for a number of days so that he can reflect, he can really think about the responsibility that he will be entrusted with. That is why you see what you are seeing now. Unfortunately, as you have said, we can't disclose where he is because he is in a secluded area.
As you're saying there about the responsibility, he has always, I think, felt, and it's said at times, that he feels slightly overwhelmed. He fills great shoes. His father, who was on the throne for 50 years, 5 decades, he now has the responsibility of leading the massive 12 million strong Zulu nation. So it can't be easy for him. A great deal of expectation. His people have shown him immense support. support. We saw that in the celebrations that have taken place. We saw that at the pre-coronation ceremony, Ukungena Esibayeni. We saw it at the Reed dance, where the first time there was an overwhelming number of maidens that have come out to show their love and support for their king.
Exactly. In fact, as much as this is about the Zulu nation, but it talks to a bigger South African context. Remember, as you and I sit here, about 6 kingdoms are going through some difficulties in this country. And then I think what he would want to do, he would want to set an example to say, because South Africa's constitution decided to recognize the traditional leadership, and then he says, now, as the biggest and perhaps the most respected nation, let me lead by example, because he's not living in an island. So we are in a South African context. So if it can be done by the Zulu nation, so it can be done, for example, by the Bapedi, for example, by the amaXhosa and the amaMpondo, those who are having their own difficulties. So this is looking at a problem that is actually bigger than him. So he has to lead in a manner that will inspire confidence to the entire traditional leadership.
And one thing we haven't actually spoken about, Mzondile, is the fact that we're holding this event in Durban. Traditionally, I'm supposed in the history, his father, the event took place in the heart of KwaZulu, in the seat of the Zulu kingdom at KwaNongoma. And this is the first sign of a king saying, I'm not just the king of KwaNongoma, I'm not just the king of Zululand, I'm moving to Moses Mabhida. Of course, for logistical reasons, it made, I suppose, more sense for it to happen in the city. But this, I suppose, is also a sign of what type of king King MisuZulu is.
In fact, you know, you and I, where we are standing, you know where the founder of the Zulu nation is? He's actually buried 50 kilometers less than from where we are. So he's buried in KwaDukuza. So as much as this is a modern symbolic event, but King Shaka is in this area, because KwaDukuza is just a few kilometers from here. So he doesn't have to be restricted to KwaNongoma. Yes, the traditional things were done because that's where the traditional ubukhosi is, KwaNongoma. But the fact of the matter is that he is presiding over a bigger nation, and there are so many things that we can say. In fact, I was thinking of many other areas around Durban. There's a place called amaZulu, and in English it would mean the nice sweet waters. Yes, it will sweet waters. That place is south of Durban. It's nowhere near Nongoma. So who named that? It's King Shaka. So when they were resting with his amabuto, they sat down and then they had that water, and then he felt, oh, it was such nice water, and then he named that place amaZulu. So what I'm trying to say about that, so his influence, it doesn't have to be in KwaNongoma. Yes, that is Ihlalankosi Nongoma, but he presides all over, even beyond KZN. That's why I said the reason why South Africa, for example, today is fixated and focused on what is happening here, because it's not really an exclusivity of the Zulu people. This is a South African event. Of course, so many other people, and these nations are quite interrelated. There are marriages between themselves and all of those things. So it's a bigger event. It's to show that he is embracing of everyone.
Thanks. Certainly, Mzondile. We hopefully, we were told that in about an hour or so, His Majesty the King will be leaving this venue. As we've been saying there, that this is a secret location, unfortunately, which we cannot reveal. And this is where currently King MisuZulu KaZwelithini is preparing himself. Of course, my colleague here, Tulani Ngobo, just showing us heavy security here where the king is, and about an hour's time we will be seeing King MisuZulu leave this venue as he makes his way to the Moses Mabhida Stadium.
As well as Mzondile Mbeche live for us there. Thank you very much indeed for your reporting. Stand by. We'll come back to you in a short while. Mzondile was mentioning that King Shaka is buried not too far from there. We know that King MisuZulu is 9th since the legendary King Shaka. And he also mentioned, Zulu, that he needs to now lead in order to inspire confidence, or in a way to inspire confidence. The voice of the king matters. How should he use that voice in terms of benefiting the amaZulu nation?
I think the most important thing is that he has to establish himself a council. And there is a council in place that helps him formulate policies. But the council must be diversified so that it looks into and encompass a variety of things that a nation needs to be a complete nation. And as matters stands now, we are at the fourth industrial revolution stage, and that requires a change of mindset of how you do things. And once we get to that level, because at the end of the day, you need to move with times. So the king has to move with times, but at the same time, he must not be radical, because he is still leading the very nation that is used to doing things the old way.
And I suppose it talks about the transitions then, as he leads. But let's go back to our colleague, Blaine Samgele Masego, who is standing by with Umntwana uThulani Zulu. Samgele.
Yebo bongiwe umntwana uThulani Zulu unathi uzokhuluma ngohlelo ukuthi lanamhlanje luzohamba kanjani njengomndeni. Umntwana niplane ukuthi luhambe kanjani lolu suku ngenhlelo zenu njengomndeni. Salibona uhlelo lakho uhulumeni, kodwa nina inkosi ingonyama izokwenza njani namhlanje mayisithola isitifiketi?
Ake ngithi nje usuku lwanamhlanje na abantu abayihost uhulumeni, kodwa akwenza uhulumeni ukunikeza ingonyama isitifiketi. Okungeyona ke into entsha ngoba kudala inkosi yabekwa, akabeki inkosi uhulumeni, uyagcwalisa nje ukuthi amazwe omhlaba azi ukuthi sinenkosi yamaZulu. Kodwa ke umsebenzi wesilo uma ngabe sesinikezwe isitifiketi, ngicabanga ukuthi ibe khona idivision ekhona emndenini. Umsebenzi wesilo omqoka ukuthi kubanjiswane, kuzama ukuthi amalungu omndeni mhlawumbe angaboni ngasolinye asondele eduzane kuxoxwe, ngoba ukungezwani kwamalungu omndeni it means a division of the nation.
Kunabanye asebephumile edlangalaleni bathi bona lo mcimbi namhlanje abawushaya indiva, abawuboni kahle, and uhulumeni uphule isinqumo senkantolo ngokuqhubeka nalomcimbi. Nina njengomndeni nizizwa kanjani ngoloku, ngoba lolu qhekeko likhona eNdlonkulu ngathi lisaqhubeka?
Ake ngithi nje banelungelo lokuthi babona ngendlela ababona ngayo. Wonke umuntu usiphila kwidemocracy, umuntu ufuneka akhulume ngokunganeliseki kwakhe, kodwa lokho akusho ukuthi isizwe kufanele ukuthi sime, because uma ubheka the whole nation, uyabona le stadium sizogcwala kuze kuphumele ngaphandle. Njengoba kuwabantu nabo abasebenza ngeconstitution, ngoba ngiyangizwe isikhathi esiningi ngathi baye babeka umthetho osekelo phezulu. Umthetho kusebenza ngedemocracy, intando yeningi. Kufanele bavume ukuthi abantu abaningi yibona abayivumile inkosi yamaZulu kunabo, ngoba lento kusho ukuthi bayisa kwipolitiki. Ake sithi ngohlangothi lwabo-ke sekufanele babone ukuthi hayi isizwe sonke bona bayi-percentage engakanani bese beyangena-ke. But all in all, umsebenzi wesilo ubuyisa umndeni uhlanganise sibe munye, that's all.
Yini esingayilindela isilo samabandla onke esingayisho namhlanje kuthina ama-subjects akhe?
Mhlawumbe kuzoba ukubonga isupport, ikakhulukazi ngoba bekukubi kungahambi kahle, kodwa abantu bayisupporte kakhulu ingonyama. So kokuqala nje ukubonga isupport, okwesibili ukubheka umhlahlandlela ukuthi ukuya phambili ukuze kuthuthukiswe isizwe, ngoba uyazi umsebenzi wesilo ukuba sibambisane nohulumeni. Sitshela uhulumeni ukuthi abantu badinga lokhu nalokhu 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 ukuze lapho abantu bakhona. For example, uMdlokombane wayekhuluma ukuthi uma ngabe abantu befuna intuthuko kufanele babekezele, hayi ukushisa umgwaqo, hayi ukubulala izonke izakhiwo ngoba uthi ufuna izinto ezithile ezingamalungelo akho. Ngicabanga ukuthi nalesi silo kufanele sihambe kanjalo ukuthi umphakathi awufunde ukuyilindela intuthuko, ungadestroy okukhona ngenxa yokufuna okungekho.
Mntwana ushaye nje ngamafuphi, siyazi ubanjwe isikhathi. Ingonyama njengoba izosala namhlanje eyiphi imigudu yesintu elandelwayo ukuthi ize ifike la izokwamukela isitifiketi uma ikhona njengamanje nje yenzani?
Kukhona lento ekuthiwa i-seclusion igonqile kodwa sesipheleleke isikhathi somgonqo izophuma ke ize la kodwa ngifuna ukusho ukuthi la akulona isiko ukuza la kuwumsebenzi kahulumeni wokunikeza isitifiketi ngakho ke umsebenzi owawuyisiko ngomhla ka-20 August lapho kwakwenziwa khona zonke izinto ezingamasiko futhi nendlunkulu yayi-involved kakhulu. Namhlanje asikho kangako nathi sizimenywa lapha sizobambisana ke nje uhulumeni naleyo ndlela ukuthi izinto ziye phambili.
Siyabonga Mntwana uThulani, uyena uMntwana uThulani who is from the royal family, speaking on the significance of today, saying that the king has already been put on the throne on the event that took place on the 20th of August. Back to you in studio.
You can hear the drum beats reverberating in the majestic Moses Mabhida Stadium as we wait for the official ceremony to start, the handing over of the certificate of recognition to the amaZulu King MisuZulu KaZwelithini. It's happening at around 10 o'clock or so.
And you know, Blaine, when you listen to the sounds there from the pitch, it's always interesting how there's also communication through song.
Yeah.
Because the messaging there is also quite an important one. And as we bring you in, Dabezita, over these visuals, you listen to songs like Konyaka Zimkonto, Wenkonyanegandaba. These are songs that tell a story of the history of the nation.
In fact, when you look at amaHubo and different songs, they are for different reasons and stages. For instance, war songs or war amaHubo, they actually reflect the mood of the nation, but at the same time, the amaButho, they are trying to enthuse themselves to live up to the spirit of the occasion. Yeah. If there is marriage or a wedding going on, so you have got different songs, you can't mix them. But today, these are the songs of joy, songs of expression, and actually giving the mood of what we are in and what we are to witness today, because some people will be seeing this for the first time, and the history is being made. So it's going to be taken to posterity, whereby people would actually be giving different versions, and children who may have not seen this or may not live to see this will get it from their parents, because we actually translate things and transmit things through the word of mouth, orality. And maybe this, you'll be surprised that these songs, you don't have a script for them. One person starts the song, and the whole stadium will fit in.
And you mentioned that the majority of the people that are going to enter the stadium are youth. And we've seen that them flowing in and getting a sense of what this occasion is all about. It's important indeed. Look, here at the SABC, we don't do things half-baked, right? We have, as I said, we have an armada of cameras positioned not only here in the stadium, but outside as well. We're tracking movements, and doing that for us is Simpiwe Makanya, out and about in Umlazi in Durban. Simpiwe Makanya, what are you witnessing?
Well, indeed, there is already starting to be some movement in most parts of KwaZulu-Natal, where we are coming to you live from Umlazi Township, one of the biggest townships in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. We are expecting those who will be in attendance at the Moses Mabhida Stadium to start taking these buses that are right behind me, which are going to be leaving this particular area any minute from now. As I walk around and try and paint a picture of what is currently happening where we are, you can see a group of maidens behind me who are already, basically in a jovial mood, showing their excitement ahead of the event. We were speaking to them earlier on. They said that there is no way that they would miss this opportunity to witness history, when King MisuZulu KaZwelithini is being officially, recognized by the government of South Africa. We know, of course, that that particular event is going to be, expected to start at 10 o'clock. But of course, after the buses leave here with those who are going to be attending the event, they are then going to be converging in various spots in Durban. One particular area is the Louis Botha area, where they are going to be, converging and then officially then now leave and go straight to the Moses Mabhida Stadium. In terms of the running of order, I can certainly, tell our viewers that there is certainly going to be some delays, because as it is now, if I'm looking at the time, it's already after 9 o'clock and the buses were supposed to be, leaving by now. But of course, those Amabuto and maidens are still, getting ready to attend this very historic event that everyone here is looking forward to. It's back to you in studio for now.
Some people are Makani out and about in Umlazi in Durban, bringing us the various angles of this important event, historic, no doubt. And we were told that there's over 80 buses, around 300 minibuses that will be transporting Amabuto as well as others to bring them here to the stadium. As you can see, guests arriving.
And of course, Blaine, also various roads being closed. Some people won't be able to access certain parts of the city. Yeah. And of course, expecting a crowd of about 48,000 to fill the stadium. Correct. And, on the pitch side, it's always very interesting. Yeah. And Samgele Masek, I'm sure, is having the time of his life there. Samgele.
It is a hive of activity here on the pitch. We are seeing a number of dignitaries. But as you speak about economic activity in the economic hub of KwaZulu-Natal, the eThekwini municipality, we are with the mayor of eThekwini, Mxolisi Kaunda. Uvunulile njengoba umbona nje ugqokile insizwa nje impela uphelele namhlanje. Sodolophu uhamba kanjani ilungiselelo zalomcimbi kahulumeni ukunika isilo samabandla onke isitifiketi sakhe? Nina njengomkhandlu waseThekwini lilungisele kanjani lo mcimbi?
Kuyithuba elingazivele kuthina njengomkhandlu waseThekwini ukuthi sinikezwe ithuba lokuhosta the event of this magnitude, the event which comes once in a lifetime. So it came in our lifetime. So we made all the preparations led by the National Department of Culture as well as the Premier of the province. So we are ready to host our guests. The city in terms of infrastructure, we are dealing with everything, our water quality, and we expect more of economic spin-offs through this event. And we anticipate that more than 82,000 people will be around here. They will spend more than 65 million direct spend as well as 135 million to our GDP. And it will create employment of more than 207 people.
Ngokomnotho Sodolophu, iTheku umasipala uzozuza kanjani ukuze uzokwazi ukuqiniseka ukuthi ulungisa ingqalazinda yomkhandlu iphinde futhi yakhe namathuba omsebenzi, njengoba usazi ukuthi uMdlokombane wayikhuluma kakhulu ngokuthi uhulumeni kumele ukwazi ukuthi wakhe amathuba omsebenzi ukuze uqede imbupha kanye nendlala?
Yes, as eThekwini, we've developed a mayoral 10-point plan which deals with each and every sector of the economy of the city, especially agriculture, because if we can elevate agriculture and leverage from its value chain, it will create more jobs for the city. Looking at the manufacturing sector as well, it will also create the tourism, is also recouping from where it's left off before 2019, COVID-19, and we are happy that it's starting to gain its momentum and people are starting to get back their employment, as well as the business is starting to boom. We anticipate that more than 75% of hotel occupancy during this period of this event.
Basiqhubeka nje nina njengomkhandlu weThekwini nizosebenza kanjani nayo isilo samabandla onke ukuthi niqinise isizwe sakaZulu?
The presence of isilo ongangezwelakhe is very critical to our programs as government, because he is an inspiration to us. He guides us, he nurtures us as people as well as government. So he will also become the watchdog to the government to ensure that government does its work as per the expectations of the people. So we are happy to work with him, and we've got good relations, close relationship with Ndlunkulu njengomkhandlu waseThekwini.
Sike sakubona ukuthi unekhono lokucula kulezi zinto. Asike sibone ikhono lakho ukuthi yakwazi ukugiya. Awukugiya lapho sodolopha, awukugiya sibone. Awukugiya sibone. Giya.
Asikakwenzi lokho khona isila sikwenza okuningi.
Imeya yaseThekwini leyo umxolisi Khawunda sikhuluma ngokuthi uzosebenzisana kanjani umkhandlu waseThekwini kanye nalo indlonkulu usilo samabandla onke inkosi uMisuZulu KaZwelithini. Njengoba ngibuyisela intambo kuwena Bongiwe lapho e-studio.
Alright, usamkele umaseko ke loyo nemeya umxolisi uKhawunda Plain. I feel like you and I are going to be put on the spot because Samkele is putting everyone on the spot. They must really take part in it. I don't know if you and I can rush to that occasion.
We can't do it in the studio. We've got the shield, we've got the equipment, so to speak. But we'll see by the end of the day. Yeah.
I think maybe to give the viewers something to look forward to, they can wait until the end to see what we're going to do.
Yeah, it's called padding.
Yes,
in the business. Look, it's definitely all eyes on KwaZulu-Natal. It is regarded as a formality because, as we know, the king is on the throne, but nonetheless important significance. Why? Because there shouldn't be this vacuum with regards to the Zulu throne. The king needs to ascend, the king needs to lead the nation, but we know that the president earlier this year recognized King MisuZulu in terms of the Traditional and the Khoisan Leadership Act. So that is done and dusted.
And you know, Blaine, as you talk about that, I'm also thinking about another layer that we were talking about earlier on, you know, today, that sacred ceremony, the rituals that would have been performed there, what goes on in his mind as he now takes on the amaZulu nation, as he's introduced to the ancestors, as some of them, you know, as they believe, in some instances, so you can only imagine in that moment the weight, and he was talking about it, even saying that he can feel it. He can feel that there's a lot riding on this one, but he thanks the support of, you know, the amaZulu nation, because they've rallied behind him during some of the most turbulent times, and you can only imagine that today is probably what he's going to talk about as well, just to thank them for their journey up to this point. But you think about another person who's been very critical, Blaine. It's the Prime Minister of the amaZulu you know, nation, the Prince uMangosuthu Buthelezi, and the role that he would have played to get us here.
As a unifier, to bring us to this point as well, we need to acknowledge him. I think he's on the bill today as well. He will speak today, looking at the program. Let's just listen in. Listen, we spoke about the involvement of the youth. You're seeing them on your screens right now. Why? Because it is for the first time in over 50 years since we've been witnessing, the Zulu kingdom is witnessing something of this nature, of this magnitude. The last one was back in 1971 for the coronation of King KaZwelithini.
And you know, Blaine, what is also important about today is that it takes place in a constitutional democracy. It takes place post-1994 because his father would have had a different kind of setting than what he has today. And it can only be seen as others as a glimpse into the future of how future kings could potentially, be handed over their certificates. So quite a lot is riding on this one. Let's then listen in to more of what is taking place on the ground.
Right, people still making their way into the Mabhida Stadium. Every now and then we will give you the sights and sounds to just feel it. It is palpable where we are up here on the fifth floor of the fifth floor of the Mabhida Stadium, but you can still feel it. The singing is reverberating, excitement building up to that formal ceremony. And the cultural part of the program is also an important one, which is unfolding, just behind us here. And we do have Ukaya Ndwandwe, who is a cultural expert, who's going to be talking to us about, some of what we are seeing today and talk to us about the significance of this moment. Thank you so much for your time. I'm sure the viewers, before we even get to today, have been wondering, Iha Uleli that is sitting here, and what does it mean? Why is it important? What's the significance of it when you look at Uzulu?
naze nabahle siyabona ingabe ngisasuka eThekwini siyabonga kakhulu ukuthi namhlanje kuze kwafika lolu suku lolu uyabona nje ngoba nibeke kanje uZulu uphelele naka namacatsi phansi ananembono ihawu leli ngokulibona nje likanjena lokhu sikubiza ngamagabelo lezi ikhala lezoyibonayo lapha amagabelo kahle kahle ke Mr Herman before la magabelo ayehamba ngokwe age ayekwangabi noma ngibane namagabela ayehlukahlukana bese uma ulibuka ngapha lento le ibizwa ngokuthi umgobo ilokho kwenzela ukuthi kufaka isandla la uma ngabe ungishaya ngokucabanga ungishaya njena ngikungazeli ubuhlungu bese kuzothi ke lokhu kuthiwa inkokha ikhona kokubamba ihawu ukuze lingabhalansi inkokha ifana noNdunankulu kaZulu yena ophethe ubukhosi obamba ubukhosi ngqe ukuthi bungabhalansi so la magabelo la zigaba zamabutho nesizwe ngokwehlukana kwazo bese kuba induku ke leyo kushaya mangabe sitha siza ke ubhekana naso lokhu umgobo lona umgobo uyalekelela ngoba uhlanganisa nje nobhoko kanjena uma ngabe umuntu ekushaya nehawu leli libamba ibalance lezi zinto ngokuyibona nje zimkanje zirepresent isizwe sikaZulu siphelele kuneyigaba eyikhona nangaphakathi endlunkulu bese kwehluka ke bongiwe esilweni.
And if I can just pause you just for a second, Babndwande, we're seeing on screen the former president Ubaba uNxamalala, former president Jacob Zuma, but we're going to come back and talk about this. Our colleague Ayanda Mhlongo is standing by, of course, undisclosed location.
Yes, due to security reasons as well. I think we'll keep it under wraps in that regard. But Ayanda, what are you witnessing where you are? Any movement?
Well, thanks very much, Blaine. We're still coming to you live from an undisclosed location. In fact, we're just a few kilometers away from the Mabhida Stadium, where we, of course, although we are far, but we can feel that the mood there is one of excitement as the thousands of people from the province of KwaZulu-Natal and other parts of the country will be eagerly awaiting the arrival of King MisuZulu KaZwelithini. In fact, as you can now see, behind us, the convoy is preparing itself. These are the Metro Police bikes that will be leading the King's convoy when he leaves this venue, making that journey to the Moses Mabhida Stadium. Now, just a short while ago, we've seen some of the King's close aides continue to arrive here, as of course inside this venue here he is being prepared. And also interestingly, Blaine, is that we also just saw the arrival of his designer, and we are hoping that we will be able to get an opportunity to speak to the man that has had quite a huge responsibility to design the outfit that His Majesty King MisuZulu will be wearing today, as he of course will be receiving that certificate of recognition from President Cyril Ramaphosa. Of course, I'm not alone. I'm still with my colleague Mzwandile Mbeje. Mzwai, let's just quickly speak, and I think this is quite important, as we were seeing the King's designer enter here, in fact, with the suits. I wish we had an opportunity just to take a sneak peek at what the King is going to be wearing here today, whether or not it's going to be the traditional men's outfit with the beshu. But from what I saw inside that suitcase, it didn't look like it's going to be beshu, but he might change, we're not too sure. Let's speak to us about the importance and the significance of the outfit that His Majesty the King will be wearing today. We know that when his father was coronated in 1971, he then wore a suit.
Well, I mean, I think I'll take a very educated guess here, based on what is happening. Amabubuto and everyone that is around him, the people who are supposed to protect him right now, are wearing the traditional stuff. In fact, I don't know if our colleague can show how people are dressed right now, people who are very close to him. So, given Ayanda the circumstances, and remember, this is 2022, it's not 1971, we're in a democratic system, so we have reclaimed who we are. There is no way that you can have a situation where someone perhaps will wear what we call colonial clothes. Maybe then it was in an apartheid situation, not so much in control, but we are now in control. But of course, as you are well aware, someone who's designing that is just around here. We're just walking to him now to get to hear what exactly is happening.
Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Masonda.
Yes,
in the name.
Yes.
Your name, your first name?
Umthokozisi Musawenkosi Nkosentsha Masonda.
Mthokozisi, thank you so much for your time this morning. I saw you walk in carrying what I presume is His Majesty's outfit that he'll be wearing today. Just speak to us firstly about the honor. You've had the honor, you've been designing for the King, and today you have the honor and the privilege of designing the outfit that His Majesty the King will be wearing to this historic event.
Yes. Undaba ezitha ngicela ukubeka ngesintu.
Ibeke ngesintu.
Indaba ezitha sengimgqokise sekuyisikashanyana ngicabanga from last year. Ebethanda kakhulu ama colors are bright. Then ngathi indaba ezitha sithi tone down, since position yakho as a king you can't be wearing purple, your mustard colors. Sathi asistick to navy, grey and everything. Then uthanda accessories. Accessorize izinto zakhe, but he is very happy ngomsebenzi wami. Njengoba ngizele yena nje ukuzombamba ngalezi zami izandla.
Usigqokile imbubu.
Imbubu izoqala izoqala ivunule.
Okay.
Then mayiqeda ukuvunula ke late for igala dinner, then bese faka outfit. Inhle kakhulu nizoyibona surprise.
Awukazi ukusihlebela nje nombala nokuthi injani.
Ngizosuke ngispoil surprise. But nizoyibona uzobe muhle kakhulu, angicabanga ukuthi okwaba muhle kanje empilweni yakhe.
Ukuthatha isikhathi singakanani ukuthi uyenze le outfit?
Sisebenze kanzima because normally our turnaround time it's a month, and it's a busy season. Ikhathi zemishado kubhizi kakhulu. But I managed ukuthi ngipushe for 5 days. So ngayeka yonke into engangiyenza from a weekend, senze outfit side add izolo ebusuku side accessorizer, then ekseni ngo3 bese ngivukile ngise airport, then ngafika ekseni yonke into ke iyahamba kahle, ama measurements, there's no alteration, everything is perfect, and he's very happy.
Ngicabanga ukuthi into enkulu kakhulu kuwena ukuthi isilo sikhethe wena, Mthokozisi, ukuthi kube wena ozomdesignela impahla kakhulukazi osukeni olubaleka kangaka.
Yebo. I guess isandla sami wasithanda. Nanokuthi ke mina mangidesign into ngiyathanda ukuthi nawe include with design engisuke ngiyenza sivumelana. I think kulula ukusebenza nami. And again, ngumuntu onestyle ngoba ngibonela nawe sisi. So but ngakusho he's very happy and I'm also very happy. It's a privilege ukuthi ugqokisa inkosi into enkulu kakhulu emlandweni. So yeah.
Siyabonga kakhulu isikhathi sakho siyabonga kakhulu. All right, that was Mthoko Masondo, who of course had the honor of designing His Majesty's outfit that he'll be wearing, and what he's telling us of course is that it has been preparing for it for over a month, sorting out the types of designs and changing here and there, and then of course he said in the last 5 days he worked flat out, arrived in Durban this morning with the suit. He said that at this point he has His Majesty, who is inside, has fitted the outfit. He likes it, but he says that we'll have to wait and see. This is going to be his second outfit, which he is going to be wearing at the gala dinner later on. We're told that he is going to attend the event at Moses Mabhida, where he'll be leaving this very soon wearing the traditional Zulu attire, which is ibeshu. But I'm now with the gentleman who, in fact, the other designer who is responsible for having designed or made the king's traditional attire. Baba sibonga kakhulu nje isikhathi sakho. Nawe ube nenhlanhla ukuthi ingonyama icela ukuthi akube wena ozoyakhe ihlanganisela ezobe igqoke namhlanje.
Yebo, angiqale ngithokoze dadewethu impela kube kanjalo. Ngiyayibonga kakhulu lenhlahla. Angiqale ngikhuleke bayede wena wedlovu. Igama lami ngusho kwakhe ngokwambatha ngidabwa kwaNongoma. Kushuthi ngibe naleyo nhlahla uma ngabe inkosi ingena esihlalweni. Kwafika kimi ukuthi kufanele ngihambe ngiyoxhawula enkosini. Ngase ngithola isihlangu nje esikhulu. Nengicabanga ukuthi kwaba isipho sokuqala senkosi ngalesikhathi iqala ukungena esihlalweni. So from there I've been recognized ukuthi sekufanele ngizame ukuqhubeka ukuthi inkosi ngibone ukuthi ngiyenzela kanjani. So yonke into yayo yemvunulo I make sure ukuthi i-right, ngiyayilungisa, ngiyayigqokisa yonke into ngokulekelela nendlunkulu.
Mhlambe namhlanje ma kwimvunulo mhlambe imbobe kadinayo wethu kuyilungisa noma kwakhiwe entsha inhlanganise entsha.
Kwakhiwe nje entsha inkosi intsha, kwathathwa imvunulo entsha yesimanje enhle kakhulu. Sithatha from inkosi esibuzile, sithatha from leyo design siqhubeka khona lapho senze nje inkosi ethi ihlalile icwabezela. Uzoyibona nje into ezobe iyona namhlanje. Kuzobe konakele kakhulu. Hayi kuhle kakhulu. Kumnandi nakithi ukuthi senza inkosi yethu beyinhle, sisebenzele obaba. Kumnandi kakhulu. Ngiyathokoza kakhulu.
Kukuthatha isikhathi esingakanani ukuthi uhlanganise?
Akulalwa ke izinto zala ekhaya azinayi timing. Kuvela utshelwe manje kuthiwe njengamanje kufuneka into ukuthi ugijime non stop kwegcineni kosuku lonto kufanele igcine yenzekile ngoba omdala mayiselikhiphila izwe akukho ukujikela emva kwendlu uyeka yonke into focus kuleyo nto leyo.
Siyabonga kakhulu isikhathi sakho. Of course there is another designer who in fact put together the king's traditional attire, and he was saying that he also had the privilege when the king was first announced as the successor to the throne. He went just to greet the king, and the king liked what he was wearing, and from there the relationship then started. And I was just asking him how long it took to put together the traditional attire that His Majesty will be wearing today, and he's saying, well, it was all hands on deck. When you're working with the royal family, you get told at the last minute you have this responsibility to put something together. He is saying though that the entire traditional attire that His Majesty will be wearing today is new, and both gentlemen that we had the privilege and opportunity to speak to saying that they are honored and privileged for having an opportunity to have designed for His Majesty. As you can possibly see there in the distance, let me just step out of shot, some of the members of the royal family, as we're saying, that inside this location is where King MisuZulu KaZwelithini is preparing himself. There in the distance we see his son. So a few members of the royal family, but those closest to the king are here at this venue. Of course, as we're saying, as they prepared, you probably just see there the youngest Prince Mpendulo, that is King's MisuZulu KaZwelithini's youngest son. In the distance there on the phone is also one of the princes, the son of His Majesty King MisuZulu KaZwelithini. A lot of excitement from the members of the royal family who are here today preparing His Majesty, getting everything ready. There's a lot of movement here this morning. Let's just speak to one of the apprentices. Dabazet asibonga kakhulu isikhathi sakho, ngiyabona umsebenzi esenwenzile, usuku olukhulu selifikile. Mhlawumbe nizizwa ninjani nje namhlanje?
Ngijabule kakhulu, kuwumlando omuhle esizweni kakhulu sakwaZulu nasendlunkulu nje yonke. Bonakala wonke umsebenzi ukhona nokujabulisayo, kuyajabulisa. Bayabonakala nondlunkulu besilo bakhona, abangomama besilo, undlunkulu wakhetha nje ukhona. Kuyintokozo nje kakhulu, kuyabonakala ukuthi indlunkulu iya ngokuba ibuyele esigabeni sayo.
Ngiyazi ukuthi kuningi umsebenzi enwenzile, sekuthathe inyanga nilungiselela lolu suku, nakhona le Mabhida siyeza ukuthi hayi impela abantu balokhu bethelekile.
Impela bathelekile, abantu bazobona umsebenzi omuhle wesihlalo, bazobona ingonyama yalo, ikona okujabulisayo.
Mhlawumbe umbuzo wokugcina nje ndaba injani imbube namhlanje kuseni? Ngiyathemba usulitholile ithuba lokukhulumisana naye, uzizwe njani?
It's very calm, relax, focus.
Thank you so much for your time. All right, there. That was another member of the royal family, of course, saying that this is a day that they have indeed been waiting for. Just telling us there that His Majesty the King is very calm and very happy, and of course cannot wait to leave this venue and make his way to the Moses Mabhida Stadium. It's back to you in studio.
Yes, some of course would say we're seeing, quite a lot of people starting to arrive. You even see right there on the pitch side, you're seeing amajongos, you're seeing amachiji, you're seeing amaqhegeza, but also on your screens right now, you are watching visuals, and there's former President Jacob Zuma there.
Yeah. Thousands heading to the Moses Mabhida Stadium, 48,000 capacity. You know that the stadium can take around 60,000. Security reasons, issues of safety prevent that from happening. It's a first come, first serve. So once that 48,000 threshold is reached, there are overflow areas within the vicinity, the People's Park vicinity. There's the east wing as well as the west wing as well. There'll be large screens there, so you would not miss a beat as the former President Jacob Zuma waves to those who are already in attendance. I was just thinking, as we still say hi to Kaya Ndwandwe, a cultural analyst, listening to that interview from Ayanda and Mzondile, talking about the king being calm, relaxed and focused, speaking about focus and his vision. How does he, at this stage, draw or strike a balance in terms of modernity as well as tradition, in terms of his strategy of taking the nation forward?
Yeah, ngicabanga ukuthi lokho ulula yena ngoba uzalwe kulesikhathi samanje wakwazi ukubona idemocracy, ube exposed kakhulu kwi-democracy. So njengalokhu siku-global banibani izinto lezi aseyibonile, kuyamphoqa ukuthi zonke izinto manje azenze ngendlela efanelekile. Cishe uyakhumbula kuqala mawuzwa ngemlando ngaphambilini makugcotshwa inkosi abantu babe babaningi kodwa ingekho i-social media, bayizela bona at their own risk futhi kusahanjwa ngeenyawo. So njengamanje ngiyacabanga ukuthi uzokwenza ngayo yonke indlela ukuthi isizwe sibhalanse, kungabi bikho salele emuva, kungabi bikho phambili kakhulu. Ngicabanga ukuthi ngoba yena ube nenhlanhla, ufundile, wahlala emazweni aphesheya, kuningi isizwe sikaZulu esingakuzuza nje maye phambi kwazo. Akuze ukugcina nje ukuthi wakhona intombi zize emhlangeni, kodwa ekugcineni kosuku lezi intombi ziyingane zesikole, ziyafunda, fanele ikhule zibe ngabazali, phezulu kokho kufanele isebenze. Cishe zonke lezo zinto ngicabanga ukuthi uzokwazi ukuyibuka ngeso elivulelekile ukuthi kuqala ukuthi mawufuna ukufunda bekufuthi ugibele uye eGoli noma uze la eThekwini kumadolobha amakhulu. Ngicabanga ukuthi kufanele kube nendlela azobhalansisa ngayo izinto yena ukuze namathuba okufunda yebo sebebe zintombi ekugcineni kosuku ke kufanele baphume bayosebenza. Engicabanga ukuthi mhlawumbe okunye abengakwenza ukuthi angazi ukuthi ubudlelwane bakhe nohulumeni buzohamba kugcineni. Ake sibuke le ndaba yokuya kwey'tshudeni eCuba. Ngicabanga ukuthi engahlala phansi negovernment bayilungise le ndaba, kungasayiwe eCuba kodwa kulanda odokotela baseCuba bezotraina abantu labo. Lokho cishe kungamsiza kakhulu ey'ntweni ey'ningi i-agriculture, akwazi ukulanda abantu bezokwazi ukusebenza eswazini kuphilwa ngokulinywa kakhulu. Ube nga-adoptha zonke lezo zinto bethi beqeda ukuphuma emhlangeni, ethe mabuthi eqeda ukusina la angaphuma ayobulawa indlala kodwa kubekho into azofika azenze emakhaya.
And you know, you talk about something ebaluleke kakhulu because you talk about his relationship with the government of the day and how it's likely to be, because we saw uMdlokombane in some of the instances ubeshaya kakhulu, ubeshaya impela, and he would come and really whip people into shape, but also at the same time have very strong words for the government of the day.
Ngoba leli gama bongwe lithi Mdlokombane ake sibuyele kulo ngoba nje inyosi yethu uMdlokombane odla amadoda. uMdlokombane ingulube yentaba enolaka, ngisho izinja lezi ayisondeli kuyo. So ke inyosi yambuka yabona ukuthi njengoba usho ukuthi ubeshaya kakhulu, lolu laka lakhe yakwazi uku-identify, kwagcina sekuphuma igama lakhe. Ngicabanga ukuthi nesilo lesesikhona umulalela njengamanje kunenyosi ethi umsindo wamahlokohloko eshaya umthetho ondlini komo kadade kwezakabo abanye bethayila lebinya bethayivuka. Ngicabanga ukuthi kufanele silikhiphe igama lakhe lapho ukuthi umsindo wamahlokohloko nayo. So uMdlokombane ukwazile ukwenza izinto, ngikhulele kwaNongoma, ngizalele kwaNongoma. Iy'kole bezikude kodwa ngale nkathi eqala wayelokhu eyisondeza kunogqikazi njengamanje college noma engasasebenzi la esangweni enyokeni kwakhiwa isikole, iy'kole osuthu ziningi. Ngicabanga ukuthi njengoba usho nje ukuthi isandla sakhe besiqinile, ngicabanga ukuthi nesilo lesesikhona njengamanje uma singake sihlale phansi namadocument kababuwaso awabuke abone ukuthi ubaba wahamba uzokwazi nokubona nokungamaphutha ukuthi mina ngizokulungisa ke lo. Engicabanga ukuthi ukusebenza kaMdlokombane efuna sik-appreciate ngoba inkosi ebuse ngaphansi kombuso loyana wazobusa ngaphansi kwentando yeningi, kodwa futhi wakwazi ukubamba ney'nhlangano zepolitiki zagcina ekwazi ukuzamukela zonke kanye. Engicabanga ukuthi lokho kuzosenza isizwe sibenefithe kakhulu kowendlovu ngoba ke yena nokufunda umdlokombane wamthatha wamsa esikoleni engicabanga ukuthi sekufanele akhuphule i-level ngoba uma ubuka umdlokombane leminyaka ewu50 ayihlalile wenza izinto eziningi sekufanele manje abuka ukuthi ubaba wenza u1 wenza u2 wenza u3 mina ke iyiphi inselelo engibhekene nayo njengamanje siphila kwi-technology sekufanele kwanongoma bekhona onke uhlobo lwamathawa azoba khona engathiwa mangwanongoma khona indawo inetwork engasebenzi kuyo khona indawo isiteshi singangeni kuyo sekufanele aqoqe lokho kusalele kubaba wakhe ukuthi aqhubekele nakhaya nakho phambili isizwe asakhe umdlokombane ube nenhlahla alukho uhlobo lomuntu belingasondeli kuye futhi naye abekho abantu bebakhipha eceleni nezinkolo ngokunjalo ubeyinikela eyinkosi yabantu engicabanga ukuthi nendlela isilo lesi abasithokozela ngalo yakhumbula emhlangeni nje ngicabanga ukuthi lenyosi bongiwe eyathi umsindo wamahlokohloko ya prophet ngoba uthe zobekwa kwasuka umsini uthe qala nje uyakhuluma enyokeni kwakuchwaza ngalendlela ongazange uzuyibona ngicabanga ukuthi nakho ufuna silikhiphe igama sithi umsindo wamahlokohloko ngoba uyawubona engicabanga ukuthi ke naye uzohamba ezinyatheni kaMhlokombane.
And you can see his uncle on the screen.
From his maternal side, King Mswati III arriving here at the presidential atrium, making his way into the stadium. And, you know, speaking about that guy with regards to his maternal side, his mum, Regent Queen Manfomi Dlamini Zulu, and the inspiration that he drew from her. We know about the leadership style that his father, King KaZwelithini, may have imparted on. But what about his mum? What would he have drawn from her?
Into engiyibuke kakhulu ngenhlahla ke ngane weswazini zoba ngathi ngichembile so kukuningi ngoba umama wakhe into abeyikhonze kakhulu amasiko nenkolo izona izinto lezo abeyimele kakhulu ngenhlahla ke umkhosi lo womhlanga wavuselelwa ngumama wakhe kwase kuzothi ngale kathi ephuma esibayeni wazophumela emkhosini womhlanga esibonile uqale wayengwavuma salibona futhi nakhona isasasa futhi uyabona ukuthi izinto ezenziwe ngumama wakhe uyibona zisemqoka kakhulu umama wakhe enye into ayilwele ukuthi abantu abafunde abantu abayesikoleni ngenhlahla ke bakwenza lokho bahamba bafunda abayesikoleni engicabanga ukuthi nomama wakhe udlala enkulu indima kakhulu ke lomkhosi womhlanga ukuba zange kube khona umama wakhe ngabe awubangabikho wawungade ukhona ngaphambilini waphela kodwa umama wakhe kwaba yena othi no akawu
gospel. Mapo!
Yes, the Moses Mabhida Stadium is starting to pick up as more people start to trickle in here at this Moses Mabhida Stadium, where we're waiting for King MisuZulu of amaZulu Nation to be given his certificate of recognition by government. What you are seeing now are the members of the group of isiPhithiphithi and also a lot of other women's group. This is coming from Enanda area, in an area called Kwangolosi. This is a women's group coming from Enanda area with a lot of people as well. We are going to also talk to a number of people, including praise singers, poets, who have been very instrumental with the king, with the previous king, as well as the king. Let's talk to Ubaba Umdletshe now. Let's just welcome him. Baba Umdletshe has been the praise singer for the current king as well as for the late King KaZwelithini kaZulu. Baba, kafushane seze safika namhlanje lapha eMuzi Mabhida. Usuku olukhulu kakhulu ingqophamlando usuku.
Kunjalo Zulu wonkana sibingelele sikhuleke kwisilo samabandla esikhona, sikhuleke kwisilo samabandla ubheja naphuma esiqweni ngoba njoba silapha phela sisaholwa nguye, njoba sekuyingonyama ekhotheme ehola onke amakhosi ukubusisa noma yini eyenziwayo. Mangathiwa nje yona ingonyama ekhotheme hayi ubusisi lo msebenzi ngabe asikho kulelizi. Ngakho-ke sithi bayede hlangana amakhosi sizwe sonke sikaZulu lolu usuku lumhlophe, alube mhlophe nasenhliziyweni zethu sonke, semukele ngenhliziyo zethu sonke ngoba kukho esingakushintsha. Kungithokozisa kakhulu ukuthi ingonyama uhulumeni azoyinikeza le ncwadi yokuphatha uZulu nezwe lakwaZulu emhlabeni wonke jikelele lapha eMoses Mabhida, lapho engiqonda khona ukuthi ingonyama ekhotheme ngo-2016 yaletha isizwe sonke la, yathi igubha 200 eminyaka ilembe lakho lombuso, yathi kuyoba iminyaka emithathu sukela ngo-2016, 2017, 2018, yathi asiwugubhe siwugubhisise ngoba kithi thina esikhona akekho yobe sekhona ku-200 years weminyaka ozayo. Ngakho kuyinto enkulu ukuthi silo sizomukela isiqinisekiso sokuphatha izwe lonke lakwaZulu la eMoses Mabhida Stadium.
Just briefly saying that he's expressing his joy that finally this day has just come, the 29th of October. It has been much anticipated. He's also happy that finally this day is here, and also saying that in 2016 the Zulu monarch was celebrating 200 years, and that's been very huge considering that the late king in 2016 he did ask for such celebrations because it was at the very same stadium, Moses Mabhida, where he gathered more than thousands of people here at this very stadium, Moses Mabhida Stadium. Baba kafushane nje siyabona nihlobile nibahle njengamabutho nizowahola la, uthini umyalezo usuka kunina kakhulukazi enithondela kakhulu nendlunkulu?
Umyalezo nje sicela ukuba kube khona ukuthula, kube khona ukuhloniphana, ngoba uma nje uhloniphe kulolu usuku noNkulunkulu useduze ukubusisa, kodwa uma wehluleka ukuhlonipha kulolu usuku yazi ukuthi vele inhlonipho kuwe mayingekho nobukhosi ngeke bube bikho empilweni yakho bakawuhloniphi.
Uzobe usuyasirobha la ngomane uma ngashayelanga nje umuco wodwa ngendlula mitho ojwayele ukuthi ejwayele ukudla amaqabo ngaphezulu ezinye izilwane zidla phansi.
Ngakusho nje ngokuguga lokho ngibuka ukuzalwa kwayo athi indlula mithi yamakhosi, isilwane eside kunazo zonke izilwane esidla amaqabo ngaphezulu kuzo zonke izihlahla, ezinye izilwane zidla phansi ngobufishane bazo. Ilanga isile esiphathwa ngamalanga amabili siphathwa ngelakwangwane saphathwa ngelakwaZulu. Incwadi ebhalwe ubheja naphuma esiqiwini kaza isayina, wayisayina ngamashoba ey'nkomo zesizwe sonke sikaZulu.
Okay, there's Baba Umdletshe reciting some praise names for the current or reigning King MisuZulu KaZwelithini, as he will be given his certificate of recognition later on today by the president of the country. It's back to you for now.
Right, for Sukumalo, live for us there on the pitch as we wait the arrival of the King. Somebody that is tracking the King's movements is my colleague Ayanda Mplongo, live for us in an undisclosed location. Ayanda, what are you witnessing there? It seems that we're having a bit of an issue with Ayanda's audio. We'll try to reconnect with her. As soon as there's movement there, you know she's going to bring that to us live right here. We're still in studio with Kaya Ndwandwe, a cultural analyst, and we're looking at the sights and sounds and what should it mean? I mean, the last time we saw something of this magnitude in nature was 50 years ago, but what should it mean for this day and age, for the youth especially?
Baqopha umlando ukuze baze igabe ezimbili njengoba uZulu nje lade lapha bona babe khona kugcotshwa isilo esidala sebephinde baba khona kugcotshwa isilo esisha. So ke thina esikuyi youth kungumlando ukuthi sibone into engazange ibonakala okungenzeka singaphinde siyibone futhi. So lokho kuchaza ukuthi siyazi ukuthi kwaZulu kunezinto indlela ezihanjiswa ngayo. Ake ngithathe nje kade kungaziwa ke kwaduma ubaba uMgilitshe umbhidelo wamabutho. Nje abanye bebemazi nje ukuthi kunomgilitsha kodwa ngokwebuza kwesilo baqala babona ukuthi umuntu ekuthiwa ngumdidelo wamabutho kwaqala kwabonakala okunye futhi nebutho ibutho oqala like laduma kabi kwangathi abantu nje abaviolent kanje kodwa manje sekuyaziwa ukuthi ukuba ngumZulu fanele ube libutho engicabanga ukuthi kusuka manje umsindo wamahlokohloko kuzohanja kuzoba nomkhosi okweshwama uzohamba yobutha amabutho naba besilisa futhi lokho kuyigugu ukuthi mina ngake ngasibona isilo esisha phambi kwami mina ngake ngabuthwa isilo esisha okunye fanele sikubonge uhulumeni ukuthi lo mcimbi awenzele lapha kucaca ukuthi isilo ngesabantu bonke ngoba nawefuna ukuya kwaNongoma aqala wayevimbekela osekuchaza ukuthi sizokwazi ukungenela kubo bonke abantu nasemadolobheni lapha engathi khona ngabantu abaqhelelanayo nezinto zobuzulu kodwa ngoba ubekwe lapha nje nabasebhalito ababuka iTV bezile la lokho kuchaza khona ukuthi kunalento yokuthi uyangenisela nakubantu abasha kunama college lapha nezikole eziningi uyayibona iyouth njengamanje igcwelela bayizwela nabo beyingxenye yombuso wakwaZulu.
And Kaya Ndwandwe, they're talking about how important it is playing that this event is here. Everybody is able to come here, but at the same time talking about how important it's going to be that even the young people are also a part of this as well, but also speaking about a man that we all grew to know when you think about this particular occasions like these ones, Ubaba Mkilija the late, and one thinks about him, but at the same time Mr. Ndwandwe, you think about people like Inyosi Ubaba Buzechenu Mdleje and the role that they are playing, and every time you see him you kind of know that Isilo is somewhere possibly in the vicinity or getting closer, because these are the people that lay the path, that prepare the ground for him.
Ubaba uMdleje fanele simbonge kakhulu usebenza isikhathi eside nesilo ngenhlahla ke ngoba ngikhulele khona ngimazi ngisemncane engaqhamile naye kakhulu kodwa kwaya njengamanje uma ufuna ukwazi inhliziyo yesilo esabuzileyo ubungabuza kubaba uMdleje nokuthi silale sinjani nokuthi sabe ngisho abakwaZulu bebengazi ubaba uMdleje kahle naye ngicabanga ukuthi enye amavasithi befanele imhloniphe ngeziqu zobudokotela uma ubuka iqhaza into engiyithande kakhulu ngaye kunembo ngayikhulisayo njengamanje sibabonile omcambi bakhona sababona umkhize bakhona kunenye yaseBergville njengamanje kufika lapha khona umbono ukuthi uyaqala manje ugruma abantu abasha iyouth njengamanje yena nje okwakhe njengamanje usuzovela umbone engena la ethulisile kube kuphela mase siphuma bakhona omgoqozi kukhomba ukuthi uyazi umsebenzi wedlulisela kwabanye abantu kodwa akuthenga makuhamba isilo esabuzile waphelelwa ngamandla okucacayo ukuthi sasimiyalile naso ukuthi fanele ahambe kanjani nengane nezinyosi ke ikhona njengamanje fanele nazo zifunde kuMdleje engake ngibanxuse kukho kakhulu ukuthi bawathole namakhasethi ezimbongo ezehlule obaba uMathambo kwala obaba uDlamini ukuze umuntu neaccess yokubiza amagama mangithi kwamgilija ngithi ngingathi kwamgilija ngingathi enkunzane kanti ngizothi enkunzane bekwazi bemlalela ubaba uMdletshe mayesho okwesibili bese kuba yilokuthi imbongi uthola isheshisa manje ngamanje kanti usukuthandaza mangabe uyabona nje mawumuzwa umsindazo ethi udlungane kandaba odlunguze emanxulumeni kwaze kwasa amanxulume egubzelana akekho ngezwe ukuthi uthini kodwa mawuzosheshisa kuzwakala engicabanga ukuthi kuzofika lapha khona ekwazi ukuyiphorisha khona lezi imbongi umuntu oyimbongi ke umuntu wehlukanisela isiphungu uNkulunkulu one akakhohle ufana nokuthi uyirekhoda njengoba sirekhoda la into oyikhulumeno yenza phambi kwakhe uyayibona into ungenza iphutha manje zombonisa ekufaka ezibongweni bese kubase kutheni izibongo ayinayo inhlamba kodwa ngamagama amnandi ngoba is a praise we are praising lapha so ngicabanga ukuthi zonke lezo zinto lezo uzokwazi lezi imbongo ezintsha ukuyikhulisa ayiguide athi noma eyishiya ayishiye sezi kwi right track.
And Blaine, he talks about the importance, for the viewers who also are not able to understand just the transition and the process of praise singing and how you can't just keep the knowledge to yourself and just like Bob Mdletshe is doing right now to make sure that the younger ones are also are getting involved, but also really understanding that praise singing is a prayer, but there's got to be pace to it because those around you must also be able to hear what you're saying and be able to understand what is being said.
Earlier we had a demonstration with regards to this. This was, by the way, meant to be a prop. We take it to another level with guests like Ndwandwe. Thank you very much indeed. All right, let's keep track now with regards to the movements of King MisuZulu KaZwelithini. Ayanda Mhlongo is keeping track of that in an undisclosed location for now. Ayanda, what are you witnessing?
Well, thanks very much, Blaine. I can tell you what the location where we are that we have been seeing just a few more close family members and aides of the king arriving. The Metro Police bikes are here. The police, special forces are here. South African police are here. And they will, of course, form part of the convoy that will be leading or taking King MisuZulu KaZwelithini as he makes his way from the location where we are to the Mabhida Stadium, where of course we've been seeing thousands and thousands of people making their way into the stadium. Of course, around the king earlier on we had the opportunity to speak to two gentlemen who have the privilege and the honor of designing the king's outfit. But now another very important person who's working very closely with the king, the advisor to His Majesty King MisuZulu KaZwelithini. In fact, he was also the advisor to the late King Zwelithini. Goodwill Zwelithini, and that is Ubaba Nhlanhla Mtaka. Angibonga kakhulu bamntaka Mtaka isikhathi sakho namhlanje kuseni usuku olubaleka kakhulu umkhulu umsebenzi enwenzile kulezi nyanga ezedlule. Ngiyacabanga ukuthi namhlanje nawe umthwalo uthe ukwehla emahlombe njengoba lolu suku kade nihlelela selizela fika.
Wena waselangeni siyabonga. Lona umsebenzi omqoka noqopha isigaba sokugcina. Isigaba sokuqala kwaba yilapho uZulu ngokwesiko ubulala umntwana uMisuZulu kwase kuhlala inkosi. Ngoba kumqoka ukuthi sifundisana ukuthi sambulala umntwana uMisuZulu. Kwase kuhlala indlula mithi yamakhosi isiyinkosi phezukwethu. Ngalelo langa ke kwabe kumcaco wakhe nesihlalo. Namhlanje ke kucaca indulo nedemocracy. Ngoba njoba siye Mabhida siswa lapha nje akuyobekwa inkosi sesihlalweni. Kepha abe democracy bayothi homu bayokwamukela lokhu uZulu nenyandezulu esezikukhombile zathi le inkosana kaZulu ezalwa umdlokombani. Ubumqoka balokho ukuthi kuvalwa isigaba sokugcina ngenxa emthetho yezwe umengameli ke uzoyamukela naye njoba sesayifaka nje sibayeni yahlala esihlalweni sawuyisa.
Ngiyazi ukuthi okunye namhlanje ngoba sibheke eMoses Mabhida bakhona abanye abantu bebekhala nje le kwaNongoma nakwezinye indawo lezakhele kwaZulu bethi lo mcimbi kwakufanele noma babengathanda ukuthi wenziwe le. Kubalekile ukuthi isilo sakhetha ebaba Mtaka ukuthi lo mcimbi noma lo mcimbi namhlanje wenzewe la eMoses Mabhida. Mhlambe ke akusichazele ukuze abantu bazi ukubaleka ukuthi kungani isilo sakhetha ukuthi namhlanje akuhlanganwe uZulu wonke awuhlangane eMabhida.
Izoqala la ngiqale khona ukuthi lesi sigaba sokugcina isigaba esasemqoka esasingakhala sonke kube senzelwe eMabhida ilesi songena esibayeni. Inkosi yangena kwabo yangena esigodlweni kwaNongoma ila sabeka khona inkosi. Kwase kuthi ke ubuhlakani bayo base uthi cha ake ngoba kuyona inkosi yasemakhaya. Inkosi futhi yalapha eThekwini, inkosi yakwaZulu Natal, inkosi yakwaZulu ongale kwemngcele asondele ngaseThekwini la khona kuyobalula nakwabanye ababengekho kwaNongoma. KwaNongoma sasinabantu ababalelwe inkulungwane ezingama40 kwaNongoma. Lapha ke kuthiwa akusondezwe kulabo ongenzeka ukuthi kabaphumelelanga. Okwesibili lo umsebenzi kakhulu kahulumeni wasekhaya wenziwa sasikhona sonke libalele. Yebo alikho inkundla lapha eNingizimu Afrika engagcwala uZulu. Ngisho ngathiwa sibeke kwaNongoma, ngisho ngathiwa iFNB ayikho inkundla engagcwala uZulu. Sesithemba khona ukuthi noEscom uyosihlonipha uZulu ubuku semakhaya lobu buhle obukhona namhlanje. Kepha kumqoko ukuthi saqala ekhaya lapha bese kuzwela nje ukuthi kukhona nabantu abangezanga kwaNongoma.
Ubusushilo ukuthi imbubi sibekiwe esihlalweni namhlanje nje sokumcimbi kahulumeni usebenzisana eduze baba Mtaka nayo imbube. Mhlambe okunye namhlanje kuseni nje injani uzizwe njani isilo sethu nanokuthi ke umsebenzi manje akusafanele aqhubeka ngawo kutheni ahole lesi sizwe sibalekile lesi sizwe esikhulu kangaka.
Ngibe nenhlanhla ukuthi ngihlalene isilo kusuka ngesonto lapho beqala khona ukuthi sigonqa. Kuningi esikubonile okujulile ngokwesiko ngoba umqoka bokugonqa ukuthi ilapho isimo umqondo sayo inkosi singena ekuthenini kwenziwani, ilapho kuphakama siphakanyiswa isihlalo. Kuningi okuhle esikubonile sabuka nabezenkolo ngoba sivumile ukuthi nabenkolo zonke inkolo azize njengengxenye yomgonqo. Ngamafuphi ngithi kule insuku ezisikhombisa impela ngafakaza ukuthi kanti isihlalo lesi singumama singubaba siyamkhulisa umuntu. Sibone imbube iphakama sibone kuyidlothovu sabuka kuye ngisho ngonyama endala ubuhlakani nokuseluleka nokwenza sikubonile. Namhlanje ke njengoba ushilo sihlukane cishe namhle kuseni kuhlelwa ngoba ukukhathazeka kwayo bekuthi kodwa abantu bazohamba kanjani bekuloko kuvela imbiko ukuthi hayi khona abasuka eGoli khona abasuka eMpumalanga besiloku sihlalele khona ukuthi siyeluleke ukuthi cha engathi asefikile amabhasi asekuthini sebefikile abasokuthini ngoba ukukhathazeka kwayo ukuthi abantu baso njoba kunale ingozi nje baphephe bonke. Namhlanje kuseni futhi sikwazi ukuba nethuba lokuthi siyibone nakhona sayibika sayinika imbiko ukuthi kuhamba kanjani nabemsakazo ke no television bayasilekelela kuloko.
Okay. All right, that was the advisor to the king and is also the advisor to the late King Nhlanhla Mtaka, of course, just taking us through what this day means for King MisuZulu KaZwelithini. In fact, just speaking about the last couple of days that he has been close with the king and speaking about the days that the king was in isolation and used that time to reflect on these events that are going to be taking place today. And of course, as he now having been introduced to his ancestors and all the traditional and customary work having been done, the fact that now the government is going to be officially recognizing him as the king of amaZulu and the importance of today and the work moving forward that the king is going to have to do to lead the amaZulu nation, of course, as the custodian of amaZulu culture and customs. But Mr. Mtaga saying to us that the king is in high spirits. He was a bit concerned this morning about the numbers of people and whether or not people are going to get to the stadium safely, and his advisors having assured him that all is on track. The guests have started to arrive at Moses Mabhida. People that are coming outside of the province have also reported that some have arrived, others are still making their way to the stadium, saying that today the king is very calm but very excited about what is expected to happen here. Plane as we're saying that the motorcades, the bikes are now ready, and any minute now we were told that in fact at possibly 10:30 His Majesty the King will then be making his way from this venue as he takes then that all important ride to the Moses Mabhida Stadium. We're going to leave it here for now, Plane, and of course we are going to wait here, and will come back to us as soon as we see His Majesty the King leave the venue where he's in as he enters into the vehicle. Plane, for now it's back to you.
Look, no doubt you will bring us that live. You have a number. As soon as there's any movement, come back to us. I'll get straight back to you to get the very latest from this undisclosed location. I am Mtonga as well as Mzondi Limbeche tracking King MisuZulu KaZwelithini's movements. As soon as there's any movement, we will bring that to you live. Live visuals now from the Moses Mabhida Stadium. We're still with Kai Ndwandwe, cultural expert here, talking to the advisor. And I just wonder, as a point of interest, how does one become an advisor to the king? What sort of qualifications does one need? It'll help us understand the strategy, I guess, of the king. Take us into your confidence in terms of your understanding.
Yes. Mr. Herman, ukuba yi-advisor yenkosi akudingi ama-qualification, kodwa fanele ube nobuhlakani thizeni ozoba nabo. Sekusuke-ke manje izinto zasey'hamba ngokwesikole, sekufuneke uthole ukuthi mhlawumbe umuntu enze certain subject, kodwa kuqala bekuba ne-committee ibizwa ngokuthi inkuqu, king advisors. Labo bantu labo abantu abayisifuba senkosi, into ekhulunywe yibo nenkosi ayiphumeli ngaphandle. So beqala abantu abebezoba ngama-advisor bebekhethwa ziyimpunga zakwaZulu amakhehla ukuthi usibanibani asimsondeze eduze kwenkosi. Inkosi nayo izokuscrutinize, ihambe nawe ikubona ukuthi ufanelekile ngoba izinto ezikhulume nenkosi njengoba nje ureport ukuthi uAyanda usendaweni engaziwa. Yonke into eyenziwa yisilo must be undisclosed ngoba lokho kubeka isilo engcupheni. Kuqala-ke bekuba nalolu hlobo lwabantu ikomiti ekuthiwa inkuqu okuyilona ebeliba isifuba sesilo. Noma ngabe isilo siyagula, yibona kuphela bebazi labo bantu labo. Uma uke wayikhipha leyo ndaba, indaba yesilo, kuqala ngiyakhumbula ngekhathi zoshaka uvese ubulayo ngoba kuthiwa uyimbuka. Izinto ezikhulumela akufanele iphumele ngaphandle. Labo bantu beyibona kwahamba ke sagcina sesibona ke laba bakhona njengamanje, kodwa naye akayedwa abaningi bazigaba ezahlukahlukene. Ukusebenzele nobaba uprofessor othi Nxumalo kuyibona abeluleki bakhe, ngicabanga ukuthi wahamba kwagcina sekungihlahla Mtaka, kodwa kunezinto ekufanele uzazi, umlando ufanele uwazi. Uma kuthiwa isilo sikhotheme, kufanele abantu bazi ukuthi izinto kufanele ihambe ngayiphi indlela, nanoma imuphi umcimbi owenziwayo kufanele wena weluleke isizwe ngoba maye ekhuluma nje namhlanje kufanele azi ukuthi isizwe silindele ini ukuze akhulume nayo le nto leyo, nabantu efanele isilo sibaxwaye yena. Kunezinto eziyimfihlo ezikhona lapho, akusiwona wonke umuntu oba i-king advisor, kodwa fanele ube nezimpawu nabantu bakwaZulu futhi uvumelane nabo, ungaphambani nezinto ezenziwa yisiko.
And talking about, the anticipation of what the nation wants to hear at whatever point in time, as Isilo would then be addressing, and to talk about even, just how to be an advisor. It's not just anyone. You've got to be really somebody that knows history, but at the same time, be able to read the room. At the same time, it's an intricate process, as you say, how they are chosen. And I wonder if we are able to listen to what we can see on our screens right now.
as we see thousands now streaming into the stadium, getting ready for the arrival of King MisuZulu KaZwelithini. We will let you know as soon as he leaves that undisclosed location. We have a van tracking the king, so you won't miss out on anything right here on SABC News. The dignitaries arriving. We earlier saw the Deputy President, David Mabhida, arriving as well as a host of cabinet ministers as well.
And of course, Blaine, as we talk today, listening to Inyosi Umdleje, there's calls for unity, listening to Umntwana Uthulani Zulu, there's calls for unity, listening to a number of people, they talk about this unifying role that he now needs to play going forward. And Kaya, I suppose one of the very key things then is that a lot of people will be looking to see if the calls for unity will be heeded. And I wonder, where do we place the succession battles now against the backdrop of what we're seeing? Because we know some of them are still before the courts, but where do we place them on a day like this?
Ngicabanga ukuthi bekufanele nabo abantwana benkosi bahlale phansi behlise imoya. Khona akekho ongathanda ukuba phezulu. Kodwa kufanele umuntu nomuntu abesendaweni eyona yona. Njengoba nje kukhulunywa ngobunye, uma ngabe kuhlakazela indlu kusuke konakele kakhulu. Uma uzokhumbula beshisa isigodlo sasolundu, kwafika lapha khona kuba nabantu abangenelelayo ukudivide umbuso wakwaZulu. Kwaze kwazoshisa igodlo, kwadutshulwana, kwagcina kwanezindle engangenelana. Kodwa udini izulu uqalile ukuthi kube nokubuyisana ngazo, wazaqala izindlu sayibona. Isilo kumdlokombane sibabuyise bonke, bagcina kakhulu nje ngikhulume nje ngafihli indlu yakwaMandlakazi eyagcina inegama elibi ngenxa ukuthi kwangena isitha sangena ngayo, kodwa ibuyile. Isilo siphatha inhlendla njengamanje yenziwe ngumntwana wakwaMandlakazi, umntwana uZebhloni, ekufanele simbonge kakhulu. Lokho ubunye obakhandwa umdlokombane vudla amadoda. Engicabanga ukuthi nesilo lesinselele khona njengamanje ukuthi sibone abantu bebuyisana, kodwa engakusho dadethu Ubongiwe eyomndeni ayingene. Fanele lokho sikwazi ukuthi abantu abangesiba bakwaZulu ake beqhele kulento lena, abantu abangabhilongi ebukhosini bakwaZulu abaqhele, ngoba umndeni ngumndeni. Asithatha umntwana wasenqangiphilile, umntwana uMxwayizeni uzangene naseyibongweni zesilo ukuthi kwake kwaba kubi engasafuni ukuqhelisa izihlalo sifudumele, kodwa kuhambe kwahamba umntwana uMxwayizeni babuyisana nesilo. Njengamanje uNdlunkulu uGwabeni uhamba noNdlunkulu uNtombela, indlu yasenqangiphilile yonke ibuyile ngenxa yokuthi kwaba yimpi yakwaZulu kuphela, sebehlale phansi babuyisana. Sibonile ukuthi nangale kathi qala kunemidontsiswana eminingi, kodwa saqala sabona kunoNdlunkulu abezayo, kunabantu besibabona beqhela sababona besondela. Ekugcineni kosuku sibone emkhosini omhlanga uNdlunkulu uMandlovu sambona efika. Namhlanje ungathini masingabona uNdlunkulu kaMchizi? Kungenzeka ngoba abantu bomndeni laba ngesinye isikhathi blood is thicker than water, noma sekukhulunyekiwe izinto zenzeka, kodwa bona behamba igazi labo lisho. Engicabanga ukuthi nabo abendlovu uqobo fanele bakwamukele ukuthi khona omdala. Ake ngenze isibonelo ngami, dadethu Ubongiwe, mina ubaba uGano Isitheni, omama abathathu, mina ngimdala ekhaya, nginayo umama ekhaya, okungukuthi anginali igceke. Ngoba mase kuthiwa bafanele akhethe inkosana kaNdwandwe, ngoba umfowethu ozalwa ngumama Mandlovu khona akakwazi ukuza kimi, nabantu bazothi weqhatha ingane Ndwandwe. Kufanele kwazi ukuthi uma kunesimo esikanje kufike kube nenkosana nendlalifa. Uma mina ingane zami ayikho enizale ngaphandle komshado, leyo kuqala iphethe ubukhosana, iphethe ukudlalifa. Kodwa uma sekukhona izalele ngaphandle komshado, sezehlukene, sekukhona inkosana, sekukhona indlalifa. So kufanele bakuvumele ukuthi nansi indlalifa manje iyoswela, nanemkhuba ke yenziweyo bekhona ukuthi nangu phela umama wakhe walotsholwa isizwe, noma lokho bengakhona abangakuchallenge ngendlela abangakuchallenge ngakho, kodwa fanele bawuvume ukuthi kwathiwa isizwe asikhiphe inkomo siyolobola umama ozozalela inkosana. Ma isikhona ke inkosana uNkulunkulu esembusisile ngenkosana, waba nemigudu elandelwayo ukuthi uzokhula kanjani afihlwe umuntu ozoba inkosi. Nami nje isilo lesi bengingasazi, nisibone ngoba sekubani awukwazi ukuthi sesingeqala leyo mgoqo efana naleyo. Asikuvumele nabantwana basendlunkulu asehlisa imoya.
Yeah, of course, calls for unity, but let's pause there for a second and listen in to what we are witnessing.
Live visuals, the streets of Moses Mabhida, leading up to Moses Mabhida Stadium, amaButho, or regiments, they're going to be making their way into the stadium. We have eyes on all aspects of this presidential handover of the certificate of recognition of amaZulu King MisuZulu KaZwelithini, and we will bring you the very latest. But as you know, the news comes first right here on SABC News. So let's take it back now to Auckland Park to get you the very latest news.
Hello.
Wena wendlovu bayede udlungwana kandaba odlunga amanquluba wada kwasamalunqulu wesibekelane ushakashakashayeke unodumenhle zikamezi ilembe leqamanya amalembe ngokhalipha ushaka amasaba ukuthi ushaka inkosi yasemashobeni inkomo ekhala emthonjaneni isizwe sonke sizulu kulila izwe mthunjwa waselongeni azwa amanqinga ezokakali utekelo abafazi banganomgabhi betekela behlezi emlovini bethi ushaya ubusa bankosi kanti lapho ezawunetheseka umlilo othethe kamjowane umlilo othethe ubangwangu oshisa igova zehlile wayekwashana ezikamabhitane ndaba wena wendlovu hlanga lomhlabathi
These are the live visuals coming to you live from the Moses Mabhida Stadium. That's the Prime Minister of the amaZulu nation, Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. And of course, this plane is the man who some credit for this moment where we find ourselves in right now, as they talk about the role that he played, and sometimes even taking a hotline.
Yeah. He is the one that many say got us to this stage. It's been a long road. As you know, there's been the perceived animus within the family, the royal family, and Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi was that person who you heard from constantly, keeping the media as well abreast, the public abreast with regards to the developments, and showing his frustration often when he wasn't, too happy with how things were developing.
And Blaine also looking at the premier there, Nomusa Dube, the premier of KwaZulu-Natal, who I was speaking to just off camera, and I asked her, how has it been to plan this event? I mean, all the attention is on your province right now, and she said it's been so stressful. But you think of the fact that they had to prepare for the thousands that are here, that are expected to be part of the proceedings here, but at the same time, making sure, Blaine, that security is as tight as it needs to be.
Yeah, we heard from the police minister Bekele yesterday as well with regards to the state of play and how they are planning to safeguard this event. So far, so good. Remember, this is about 60,000 capacity stadium, but they're allowing around 48,000 people. It is a first come, first serve. Once that 48,000 threshold is reached, then people will be allowed in the overflow areas. There are big screens there so people can monitor. As you can see, dignitaries arriving. This is the president, I understand. President Cyril Ramaphosa has arrived. So we are expecting King MisuZulu to be entering the stadium soon.
And the president will, of course, be, handing over. As some say, it's just a ceremonial handover because he would have done so. But also, Blaine, thinking about the 2,500 guests that they say they're expecting. These include, of course, heads of state, former presidents, kings, queens, members of the judiciary, the business community. So almost, one can see that this is a way of bridging the divide, across the various sectors. And earlier on, even seeing the leadership of the ANC in the province, the PEC, also making their way in, which also speaks about this cross relation between, the monarch, the government, everybody, and
former
of course,
President Thabo Mbeki.
Yeah, you can see him there.
So we've seen former President Jacob Zuma, former President Thabo Mbeki here, the President of the Republic of South Africa. There you see former President Jacob Zuma, and in front there, the former President of Botswana, Ian Khama.
And you can see the Deputy President as well, David Mabuza. And you can see just behind the former Botswana President is the wife to one of the wives of the former President Jacob Zuma. That's Ubongi Ngema. That's the former First Lady there. And you can see the Deputy President as well. And there seems to be some movement where Ayanda is. And we can expect some movement there, Blaine. Probably the King, maybe sometime Su?
We caught wind that there is some movement there, so stand by. We have our cameras trained on that story. I wonder if we have Ayanda Mfelgo live for us. They let me know, control, and I'll go straight to her to give us the very latest with regards to the movement of the king. It's undisclosed at this stage, security issues as well. It's understandable. It's a big event. It's historic. It's momentous. We will be seeing the, as you said, ceremonial handover of the certificate of recognition to King MisuZulu KaZwelithini, because the king is on the throne. Let's listen in.
Okay, we'll have to cut now as well.
Let's go. Go.
All right, we'll go back to Ayanda's visuals. There you saw King MisuZulu KaZwelithini. We were told ahead of time, Bongiwe, that he was calm, he was relaxed, and focused. That smile says it all.
It definitely does, and you know, it kind of also speaks to the theme of today. Liphumeli langa kwaZulu. You're looking at the sun. I mean, just you and I yesterday were talking about the weather. The rain worried what it would mean for the ceremony here, and today laphumi langa. You know, Lapuma, and really speaks to this moment. And interestingly, Blaine, I wonder for him, what is it like? Because he's probably putting himself in his father's shoes over 50 years ago, and thinking about how his father would have gone through the same thing, probably on a not so large scale. And I wonder, as he prepares to address, you know, his nation, what is going through his mind? What does he say? And also, what message, interestingly, possibly does he have for the government?
Correct. It's a complex issue. And I remember thinking and listening to him with regards to the current issues. Look, the triple threat of inequality, poverty, unemployment, very much affecting many people who he rules over. The question is, can he shield his people from those elements? What can he do practically in order to put pay to some of the social ills that many people are going through in this country? All of that is probably on his mind. We were looking at the theme of the sun on the Zulu nation. It talks to the waves of hope, one would say, following the passing of his father, King KaZwelithini, as well as his mother, in quick succession, Regent Queen Mantfombi Dlamini Zulu. And drawing from those two, what sort of leader will he be? That's the question.
And you know, Blaine, Zulu also talking about how when he looks at his people and how they are, you know, really crumbling under the triple threats, he needs to also use the resources in his hands to be able to assist them, to be able to better their lives, to be able to ensure that a lot of them even have access to land. You know, you think about the controversial Ingonyama Trust, for example, how they are going to be needing access to land, because the land question, you listen to someone like Zolani Mkiva, for example, who says, yes, the monarchs, you know, it's great great that their work is being seen. It's good that they're part of what is happening. But as soon as the land question is then resolved, that is also going to try and assist the situation as far as a lot of kings are concerned, to be able to also improve and bring a material change to the lives of their subjects.
The crowd roars in excitement. I'm not sure what are they seeing? They possibly seeing what we're seeing in terms of the king now making his way to the Moses Mabhida Stadium. Excitement building up. Dignitaries are here ready to get the ceremony underway. Amabuto regiments dating back to the 1800s has a fundamental role with regards to the Zulu kingdom, taking care of the welfare not only of the kingdom but also of the people. Now, King MisuZulu KaZwelithini, as you know, born in KwaZulu-Natal, also spent time in Eswatini, then also spent some time in the United States. We were told that he used to volunteer in a Baptist church in Jacksonville. Wonder how that has shaped his outlook.
And also, Blaine, interestingly, he has a qualification in international relations. I wonder though, every time I hear that point, I'm interested to hear how he's going to bring that in to the work that he does right now as he maintains these relations, but also modernizing the monarch, because ultimately you've got young people that must see this process of transition. How do you bring them on board? Because how you do things now is different. There's technology. And how do you then begin to bring all of them in and to bring technology? Because when you listen to some of the cultural experts, they talk about how the cell phone towers are going to be important in some of these rural areas, to make sure that some of these young women that are there are not left out as far as the connectivity is concerned.
There you go. Let's try to listen in to some of the sights and sounds, give you a feeling of what we're experiencing here, right up on the 5th floor of Moses Mabhida Stadium. Control, if you can listen in.